Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you may be, I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings in and from the universe. With that said, howdy doody. Hey, Miss Susie Q, what's up, girlfriend? So sitting around tonight, early this morning, and let me see if I can stand this thing up. There, that's not too bad. And um, I'm always kind of sort of in a meditative state, kind of like a walking transmitter sometimes. Well, no, receiver. I don't know about the transmitting part, but the receiving part, yeah, it's like stuff comes in all the time. Hey, Chloe. And Susie, do you have stuff like that where information comes in just, you know, well, Geraldine, absolutely hello. And Witch Moon, lovely, lovely, tui, lovely, lovely to see you. Easy for you to say. So, but anyway, sitting around and listening to another podcast, and like the information's kind of coming in between the words of the podcast, and it was interesting, you know. So like one of the subjects is like a we're in some people are in a fork in the road with their belief systems, and that they're so people are being manipulated by fear. If you don't believe this particular way, then you're going to go to hell, or you're not going to heaven. You're not going to be raptured. Hey, Travis, how are you? I get impressions sometimes. Yeah, okay. Susie Q, asking again, a little bit more pointed. So you get impressions, but the impressions you get, um, you don't necessarily have to be in a deep meditative state. Is my next question about that. So hi, F Kitty. Hi, everybody. It's good to see y'all dropping in. So was listening to this podcast, and I was gleaning things out of what was being said. Yep. Okay, Susie Q. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And that's sort of my message to everybody. You can get impressions and downloads and things from the other realm, spirit world, angel messages, whatever you want to call them, anytime, especially if you learn how to be open. And that was one of the things that was being discussed during this podcast. And I was like, yeah, ooh, good deal. So there are a lot of people, which I think is a good thing. There are a lot of people discussing these things. And there are a lot of people at least listening, whether they're actually discussing it or not, the subject of their beliefs and fear. And well, what do you mean by fear? Well, if you can't understand what the occult is, or the supernatural, meaning just above natural, which that shouldn't be, because some of these things should be natural to us, and we've been dumbed down over the years to be afraid of our feelings. Oh my God, I saw a critter. Oh my God, I heard voices. Oh my God, I thought I saw an angel. Oh my, and so there's fear. And so you can't say anything about that. You can't comment about the extra natural, supernatural, which is actually supposed to be natural. And because people from the outside want to judge you, especially if you say something, right? So the best thing to do is like, well, then what do? Then people keep these, people have a tendency to keep these things to themselves. It's a 20. I timed it just right. Intuition. Yep. Yeah, 2020 is coming up on Saturday. I was thinking about being awake at 4:20 in the morning on 4:20 and do a wake up call and then go to sleep. Because me, I've been up at 4 o'clock in the morning before, so that shouldn't be hard for me to do. But anyway, so in watching, looking at the news and stuff, oh my God, are they peddling fear? And we know that most of us do anyway, and we can watch and look at it and go, God, there they go again, with the fear porn, and the folks on the internet. I mentioned this, I think, in the last stream that I did, and that there are folks out there that are capitalizing on on this fear thing and the level of fear. And AI is going to take over everything. And as some of the computer experts say, you have to feed information into the AI. The AI can't dream up stuff on its own. It has to have input in order to draw from, quote, experience. So all of this stuff about who the AI is bringing, oh, come on, slow down, cut it out. Do you think AI is going to speak to you through through the cell phone towers? I do believe that if you stick too much with your cell phone, you can be affected. Okay. I do believe that. So, don't leave it turned on all the time. Don't be listening to it all the time, because there can be some subliminal stuff coming through, even maybe while I'm talking to you right now. In that they want to send something over some kind of carrier wave and woogie woogie woogie, that would affect you in some unforeseen way. Oh, the tone of my voice will make you want to eat peanut brittle. Yes, diabolical input. Absolutely. There will always be a man behind the curtain. Laugh my ass off. Yes. And to that point, I mentioned a long time ago, there's a video I did about, and the subject matter of, I don't think we can ever truly get rid of evil. It just won't work. Now, the level of evil, I mean, we can go from mass murderers to people who cheat on their taxes, or steal your credit card, which that's bad, but it ain't disemboweling people or something really horrible, right? So there are the degrees of evil, even though swiping somebody's thing and blah 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 blah, is not the same on the same level as a murder. So evil can come in different packages, right? So, but I don't think we're ever going to get rid of it. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be a pickpocket. There's always going to be somebody that cheats on their taxes. And that's going to lend to the evil side of the thing. And why do I say that? Because in the world, there has to be a yin and a yang. And so if everything was roses all the time, the universe would really truly be out of balance. And that sucks. And that was one of the things in my fear control. Oh my God, the evil in the world, and oh my God. And the spirit came to me one day and said, listen, Dave, Hawkeye, pay attention. And I was like, all right, what you want me to know? And they said, it's never going to go away. But I'm praying for peace. And they was like, keep doing it. Hey, Mossy man. But Hawkeye, pay attention. Evil is never, ever going to go away because of the yin and yang of the universe. There's day and there's night. Sometimes on some planet there's more day than night, and on some planets there's more nighttime, if you can imagine it, than daytime. So, but there's always the two factions, always. In any kind of wave, it's an up and it's a down, it's an up and it's a down, it's an up. So there's always the high side, low side, high side, low side. In all things in the universe, there's the up and the down and the up and the down. So there's the positive and the negative. There's the good and there's the bad. There's the and so we're never, ever, ever going to get rid of the evil, but the severity of evil can change. And I was like, okay, I'll pray for that. So, but I really had to sit down and think about that one. Really? We can never, ever truly get rid of evil? No, but we can slow it way the buck down. What? Yeah, we can slow it down. We can ease the tension. We can calm people down. And so, it'll be pickpockets and, minor crimes instead of mass murders. Okay, I can buy that. There's always going to be a pickpocket. There's always going to be that opportunity to go, hey, Brandy. Or Brand, I'm sorry. Is that an I on the end? I think so. I think it's Brandy. Content may not be appropriate. What? Evil is a side effect of survival traits without the need to fill. Oh, what's up, Richard? I don't know if I said hi to you. But so anyway, the message today was, there's so much fear porn out there, and they're and in the chaos, which I have discussed over the years, try to stay out of the chaos. And in listening to two other podcasts, in the content of the discussion was that we have to learn how to become the observer in this chaos, and that our actions can be non-actions. And so it's like, I've discussed this and I'll pass it along to you again. Sometimes standing still is an action. You say, well, I don't know what to do. Well, just stand still for a minute and think about it, but I need to take an action. Yeah, but by standing still, you have acted. You have acted to, I wanted to click on your site, had a warning about content. My content is for 18 and older. I had to put that in there because we were getting some really young kids and stuff, and they were trolling and being a nuisance, and it was driving Elderberry crazy, along with other people. So, but I'm not trying to keep people out, just youngins who were acting like youngins. I know 16-year-olds that are really very astute, and it's a shame that I have to put that got to be 18 deal on there. But anyway, yeah, some really young trolls, and sometimes some of the questions were like they were childish. But as a child, you need to learn. And so they were being a little obnoxious and a little on the rude side. And it was just like, but anyway, um, with that said, but in the universe of things, it was like, the Guardians are saying, listen, Hawkeye, yeah, it's how we deal with whatever evil is presented. Also, do we present our own evil? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Well, what things in life, are we fearful of? And if we're fearful of too many things, we can create our own monsters, our own chaotic monsters, a fear monster, that is absolutely present. And spiders, what? The study of archaic tribal roles is interesting, but you can see the roots of some of our modern problems in their microcosm. Balance was kept by necessity. Hey, Alex, how are you? Yeah, and so one of the things in watching some of the listening to some of this stuff, and I've mentioned this before, and Robert V and I have discussed it with Milky Way with the Native Americans, but the Catholic Church and the Spanish, when they came over and invaded Central America and Mexico and the Yucatan and all down through there, they destroyed several cultures when they did. I mean, several cultures they decimated. And, it's, well, we know what the Aztecs were all about. No, you don't. Well, we know about, the Mayan. No, you don't. Why? Because them sons of bitches and damn Catholics that came over and to rule the world, to make everything Catholic and Spanish at the time, but they, the Catholic thing kind of stuck, but they destroyed everything else, for the church and for posterity and for whatever, and you say, well, so religion, people support the Catholic Church to this day, and the religion. So you say, well, but those savages had it coming, from the Catholic Church's point of view, right? Those savages had it coming. And now we look back and we see the architecture and things and go, it's a shame, them damn Catholics killed them all. We could have learned something from them Maya. We could have learned something from the Aztec and the Toltec and some of them folks down through Central and South America. Well, Central America, but also South America. But the devastation wasn't quite as bad in South America, although there was plundered and pillage being done by the Spanish, in South America too. But to the point, they did it for the good of the church, when actually their actions were dun, 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 evil, So they were doing evil acts to promote the good of the Catholic Church and to promote the good of society, to promote good for the planet Earth. Think about it. So, there's been a lot of talk about, the Crusades. I know when I was in Catholic school and we were learning about one crusade after another, and they were all getting jumbled in my tiny little head. And I was like, why are we going over there killing all these people? Why are the Catholics now? How old was I? 13, 14 years old in this period of learning my catechism about the Crusades and wondering what the hell are all these Catholics who are supposed to be, for Jesus Christ and teaching all this good stuff. Why are they going over there, starting wars? Oh, well, they're trying to save the Holy Land. From what? From the Muslims. They still got it after all these years and all the bloodshed between now and then, and the Muslims are still there in Jerusalem. So what did all that killing actually do in the end, right? But I know what the Catholic Church was, but for my tiny little brain, I was like, why? It just doesn't make any sense. And, and at the time of I'm just making one up, but at the time of the first crusade versus the time of the 10th crusade, you'd think they'd learn something between 1 and 9. You know what I mean? And that maybe going over and killing, maybe, but they did it anyway. So it's all about war. It's all about the fear, you see. It's about how the fear of the Muslims, the fear of this, the fear of. So for all these years, people of the world have been herded literally by the use of fear. Now, I was, watching, one of my favorite, Western thingies was Rawhide. Ride 'em up, rode 'em up, ride 'em in, rawhide. Okay. Enough of that, right? But so, here you see them not rustling cattle, but, they're wrangling cattle, right? And so what do they do to help them move in a certain direction, right? They fire their pistol up in the air, right? And that makes them turn and go, whoo, there's bang, bang over here. And they all turn and go a certain direction, right? So wild animals, uh, you know, well, one might not consider, raised beef wild animals, but you get what I mean. So animals are ruled by fear, and so are we. So it's nothing new, not only in human nature, but also just in nature in and of itself. Um, you know, Deer, live by fear, fight or flight, and mostly it's flight for them. So, and it's just embedded into us like rabbit. Rabbit's got his nose up and twicky, 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 and is ready to at a moment's notice. So, because they're the prey, they're not the predator, right? So they got to be aware. So, so they're scared all the time, right? In the animal cards, rabbit is its thing is fear. So, um, but now, do we need to be controlled by it? Well, in a lot of ways, we already are, and we have been, you know, and all of the predictions, I'll say, even some of my own like predilections, more or less, not necessary predictions, but it's like the trend looks like, you know, and the trend feels like it's headed in this direction. Not necessarily a prediction, but keep an eye on how the predilection of things. It's like, wow, look at that trend, or look at this trend going up. Whoop, anyway. So keep an eye on different trends, especially here in the future, because um, people are going crazy in different ways. The energy levels are changing. Social justice is changing. People are pissed off at the way the justice system is working. They're PO'd about how the justice system is treating Trump. They're PO'd about how the justice treatment is treating the Biden laptop thing. And the fact that it's not even being brought up before an election, where his daddy helped to set all this up back with Obama, and they're not even bringing it up. Oh, but elections coming. We wouldn't talk about any of that. The justice of the Biden thing. Oh, no, no, no. We'll just keep it back over here, but we're going to prosecute Trump. You know, it can't see that. That's fear. It's fear of all of the above. And there are people who are going, but wait a minute. What's good for the goose should be good for the gander. And you all are just gandering all over the place, but you're trying to cook the goose. Interesting. So, there are, I say those of us, not necessarily me, but there are those of us, meaning out of the population of them and they, is that, there's a fear of, that everything's going to get bungled so bad in the next few months, there might not be an election. Or there might, that there might be even something worse. I mean, back in the day, I remember in the 60s when Robert F. Kennedy got shot. I remember when his son, who's out there campaigning now, I remember when his daddy got shot. I remember when, JFK got murdered in the limousine thing. I remember those things. And there are folks of my age that are going, there's some weird things going on. There's some weird things going on in different three-letter, organizations that want things out, but they don't. They want to continue to hide things, and they do. They don't even want us to know that they're hiding things. Everything's calm. Nothing to see here. Overlook all the humps and bumps. Just step over the dead people. It's all right. Oh, that's normal. Reaction to that spray we gave him earlier today. You're in the future, Richard. Yeah, because he's over there and we're over here. Yep, he's in the future. Is that what you mean? Or are you actually in the future, Richard? Ooh, I'd be interested. Neither one. Uh, can't sleep. Energy in the air tonight. Absolutely. Keeping my peace about me. Um, Susie, do you feel an unrest or is it just high energy? Because I don't. There's a part of me that feels a little antsy, but not ill mannered, just antsy, just a little, you know, watch Tucker Carlson. You are ants. You too, which moon does that mean? Antsy kind of thing? But so none of you feel that it's negative? So we all agree on the antsy part, but any of you agree that I don't think it's negative. It just feels antsy. So extend grouchiness, picking up some restless energy, ready for a rumble. Yeah, I could feel that like somebody else wants to go after it. Like I feel others worrying. Yes, I would agree with that. Yep. And that we're picking up on their energy because they're uncomfortable. I would agree with that. Yep. Shame on us, that we would pick up other people's energies or that the frequencies would change, and that was one of the things in one of my little notes here today. Um, get this one. How about this one for a special note the from the universe? Okay, chaotic anger results in a shift in frequency. How about that one? Chaotic anger results in a shift in frequency. So, do we feel the shift in frequency because of the chaotic anger? I like that one. Thank y'all. That was a good one. And it came in two parts. It was titled Tucker. There go the cats and the dog. Can you hear the squalling outside? One of the cats is in heat, and there are male cats from all over the place coming in and around, which happens every spring. Normally have 4 to 5 cats, once in a while 6, and now there's like 8 or 9. Your puppy. Yeah, it's the extra cats in the yard, and that are making them, they're caterwaulering. But so anyway, the chaotic anger. And so, there's folks that are angry against the Jews. There are Jews angry against these people. These people are angry at the Ukrainians. Folks are mad at the Russians. Everybody's mad to somebody, And it's like, and they're trying to get neighborhoods to be mad at one another. They're pulling the race card all the time, trying to get us, us poor white. I'm not white anymore. I'm Native American. And although I do have, great grandmother, great great grandmother, and grandmother who were all Cherokee, is so that, but I'm a Native American because I was born here. Okay. I'm not European anything. I'm an American. I was born. So I am a Native American. Don't ask me about nothing else. Okay. And I'm from a, melting pot dump. I'm an American. Okay. I'm American. But, so any of these other, I'll put down other, but I won't, are you white? No. Because then that makes you want to be part of this white race of people. And I'm not part of that group, So I'm a Native American, and you should be too, and proud of it. Take yourself out of that white category and choose other or Native American, and you won't be lying. If you were born here in within the continuous, or even out on the island, or or Puerto Rico, if you was born in, in a yeah, one of them places, territories. That's the word I want. Did somebody think that out loud? But then, so you can consider yourself American, but or Native American, that you're native born. You're not born, in Europe and then transplanted here, or from, or from Asia. So, but the chaos of fear, so causes a shift in frequency. Now, I think most of us, when we look around at the universe around us now, there is chaos, there is fear. That those two are absolutely, go ahead, try to deny that. Well, I'm sorry, because I'm afraid you might be wrong. What? I'm afraid you might be right. What? I'm afraid. You're afraid. The fear. So there are folks who throw that word in there. Well, I'm afraid that, I'm afraid that, gas prices is going to go up this summer. I'm afraid that, that our produce ain't going to be, I'm afraid that, we're going to have trouble with the I'm afraid that, listen to people as they speak. Everybody's afraid of something. Me too. I'm afraid something weird's going to happen that's really going to escalate things. I really am. But I try not to ponder on it, But there is this nagging little fear inside me that's going, what, watch out, be ready. In other words, don't be surprised if something comes to a head and people just start going, now wait a damn minute, and like the social justice thing. I haven't watched it yet, but I noticed the title today that Rex on Leak Project title is 40 more days till the end until the end, right? So from the Simpsons or whatever, right? So predictions, 40 more days. Well, I think that might have been 2 days ago, so that 38 days. But then Cliff High was talking about that in 36 days, there was going to be a shift in things. So, but it is at the end. So, Cliff talked about his a week or two ago, 10 days easy. And I don't watch The Simpsons anymore. So I don't know what was said, but I'm going to take it that, something was said that 40 more days. Okay. So here we are in this weird conundrum of stuff. We are in the chaos of fear coming from, I don't think Cliff High is coming from a state of fear. I think his data shows that something not necessarily fearful at all now, that just something very curious would happen in about 36 days, and that, it doesn't mean that there was going to be beatings or murders or anything. He didn't insinuate any of that, just that there was going to be a change, a noticeable change in something. But so having not watched The Simpsons now, and have not watched, I want to watch the Leak Project to see what he says. So again, I only saw the title, but in that 40 more days. So anybody who sees that, 40 more days, that's a minor chaotic, not that he's trying to push fear, because I don't think he is. If anything, he's, trying not to promote fear. But at the same time, there are these true things that are out there that he's reporting on, which is like sort of like me. I hear something, well, let's have a discussion about it. But apparently, this 40 days, like, wow. So now, which brings up an interesting, weird ass point. Okay. So grab onto your beers or your bowls or your bongs or your joints or whatever. But here's the comment that the universe gave me this evening. If the end is near, then why should we worry? Richard says, I keep getting high frequency sound in my ears the past 4 or 5 weeks, only lasts for a few seconds, then goes away. Huh? Oh man, today, oh God. And it's even in the background right now. But earlier today, it was like, it has slowed down, but oh, holy mackerel. Yeah, the high frequency, it's almost making me tired to hear it, and doesn't matter what you do. I can turn the TV up and it kind of, drowns it out. Glad someone else is getting, yeah, I understand. It's they're giving the invaders cell phones and locations to plant them. Yep. You failed your stress test? That's not good. I was ear ringing on my drive home. Yeah, Chloe. It just seems to really, really be out there. And cotton in the ears don't help. I sleep on my right ear a lot, and I go to the doctor's on Monday at 2 because I just got a call and I have to be there. But using the Q-tip, clean out your ears, I got, it looks like signs of blood coming out my right ear. And which is interesting. It doesn't hurt it, but it feels irritated on a low level. And I wash it out with witch hazel and keep it cleaned out. But it's been coming out with something on it. So me and the doctor are going to have a discussion on Monday, and he's going to have to take a look. So, and if I need to go to an ear specialist, then off I go. Hi ho, hi ho. But I'm hoping that I can just get some drops and see if that won't help. I heard that yesterday when I woke up, high pitch. Yeah, today was like that. Ear infection, hard to tell. They ringing all the time. And that stereo down something. I had that happen, but it hasn't felt. Sign is going around. They're going to put it in your file. Admit to showing foreign objects. I don't think there's any foreign objects. Chew on garlic, squeeze some garlic oil in your ear for ear infection. Or toothache med. Thank you. Because I was trying to think, what did Granny use back in the day? And this is what I remember. She used sweet oil. She had a little bottle of sweet oil in the cabinet. And she'd take and she'd dab it on a Q-tip and make it a little drippy, and she'd just drip it in your ear. And then she might take a little bit and take another drop and put it in your ear. But possum juice, yeah, what part of the juice of a possum? Anyway, clove, chew on one. I'm hoping I don't have any damage to my eardrum. I mean, I've spent a lot of years with some really loud music and so forth, but I have sincerely calmed down with the volume of things because I want to hear what's around me, So, but that doesn't mean that the many years of abuse. Now, one thing that I have done with my hearing now, like right now, it's ringing pretty loud. So to hear subtle things is difficult right now. But I can hear sounds over on the other side of the room where the mouse is making noise. I can hear noises outside. And it's not really a left or right that I can hear better from. Some days it is, but those some days I might be, my left ear might be, more rattly than the right ear. But I don't feel that there's physically anything wrong. I hope, but I'm because I've had infections on my right side years ago with a mole that was removed and a bunch of pus came out and stuff that was sort of attached to my ear. I'm thinking that I'm having some things happen along those lines, and that then I need to have something for the infection, and I'll tell him about it. Like, look, I had these issues before, and blah 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 blah, and we treated it with infection, and let's knock it out and give me some eardrops or whatever you're choosing, you know. But so let me ask. I wasn't. I quit looking at the chat. So does anybody know what sweet oil is? From what is it? What is it? Its derivative? Something that I read, it was that it was olive oil. I'm always collecting ear remedies. Had the eardrums rupture 4 times now. Oh, F Kitty, that's a shame. Witch moon. So sweet oil from the store was olive oil. That's what I thought. That's what I remember. And so I have olive oil. So I'll go get some of that and drop in my ear this evening or this morning before I go to bed. But yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you, Richard and Witch Moon and everybody. Twice in the left ear. That's a shame. I've not had anything like that happen. I've had my ears clapped real bad. It is the only way I can explain it. Um, but it did not rupture my eardrum. So I've been very lucky in that. And I think I told y'all here recently, I had my eyes checked, and he said just keep using those um, reading glasses, from the dollar store, and I am getting cataracts. I'm about 20% there. So next year I go in for a checkup and see if um, if it's getting any worse. And I have noticed, without him telling me, in fact, it kind of explains why things look a little cloudy sometimes, and that would be my cataracts. So, okay, so I'll be 72 in September, and I feel very lucky that I'm still here, y'all, and grateful and gracious for every moment that I keep breathing. So, but anyway, um, but I was living in a state of fear about all of this, and I was reflecting on last year and how I was coming out of the hospital at this time, and I was learning how to walk again, and how much pain I was in, and all this other kind of stuff. I'm still in a crapload of pain, but I know how to walk. And one of the things I have learned myself is that I'm slouching in a way that I don't need to. See that little bit of action right there? And I need to wear my back brace more. But I am able to get around. Some days just it's too painful to walk. And then other days it's like medium pain. And me and Duggar go out. We took a little walk down along the fence yesterday, and the skeeters ran us out. But took a walk down there, went out to the tree and pulled a couple of mulberries. Tomorrow they might really be ripe. But anyway, and noticing that there was a couple of woodpeckers, two male woodpeckers, arguing with each other, but they each had a section of the mulberry tree. And I've never seen a woodpecker eat a mulberry, but they were just chomping down. And then the female was around too. But so anyway, that was interesting, you know, to see these small woodpeckers just battling it out in the air. It was like, what? Where's my camera? But anyway, so all kinds of interesting things this nature this spring naturally, around the spring and through the spring, and with summer coming up. But seeing different types of birds, and right outside here, I've been feeding the cats out of this steel pan for years, and just right outside the windows here. And so they eat up close, but then there are critters that come up to the house at night, right? Like the possum, and the that comes up, and then there's the armadillo, but the armadillo don't eat out of the pan. There's been several times where there's this box turtle that comes up, and I've seen this box turtle come up and eat the little crunchies around the outside of the pan. A box turtle eating, dog food, cat food. And then now there's this blue jay. I have a walking stick thingy. What is it called? For skiers, a ski pole. And it's stuck out there because sometimes when I'm a little loony, I grab onto the ski pole and I feed the cats with, right? So I can keep my balance. Well, I can sit here in this chair and look out the window, and the blue jay will land on the ski pole and look around to see if there's anybody nearby, and then go down and get dog food out of the pan and then fly off. And I mean, like a regular trip back and forth and back and forth. So, you know, this, I'm feeding all kinds of critters out here, which is just amazing. I never thought a blue jay would come in for dog food. You know what I mean? I've got a feeder out that way. that I keep with bird seed and so forth. It's mixed seed, but it's still bird seed, and I do keep it up. And so here's the blue jay eating the cat's food, and the cats don't seem to bother it. The cats are like, yeah, go ahead, and the dog don't do anything. So in the blue jay just it first it lands on the pole on the handle, and then drops down and gets a piece of dog food and flies off. So, but anyway, but so why worry? So what's going on in the world on a natural level? It seems like there are more things getting along. In my years of observations here at my house, I've seen nature get along with other stuff. Don't get me wrong, but like the blue jay, never had a blue jay. But blue jay, in all the years I've been here, never seen a blue jay. And the fact that it's right outside my window and eating out of the cat's bowl, you know, that's a different level of, natural things happening. So, the see, I have seen woodpeckers around here, but I've not seen two of them argue over mulberries and argue with themselves and flying around and doing this mid-air battle kind of thing. I've been here 40 years and I've observed a lot, and I've not seen these types of things. I'm sure that they've happened, but for me, down here at the bottom of the hill, blah 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 blah. So along with me maturing, so is the land. The hill up there has reached a sort of maturity in a way, and it's the natural order of things. In civil culture, it starts out as a field, and then there's little trees, and then there are pine trees, and the pine trees grow up, and they shade the younger hardwoods. And as the older the pine trees get, and then the hardwoods come up, and then the hardwoods take over and the pine trees die off. Well, I'm in my forest around here is in the process of the pine trees have grown up, and now the hardwoods are coming up in different stages. So I'm actually watching civil culture, I'm watching nature unfold before me, watching the forest grow naturally the way it's sort of taught in the schools. At least that's what they used to teach. So, but watching nature show me how it's done kind of thing, and it's like me and a gentleman were discussing it the other day, and I said, there have been a couple of times where I tried to interfere with Mother Nature, and over the long run, Mother Nature was right 95% of the time. Hey Mark, how you doing? So, but anyway, in this, what we need to continue to look at is the natural things around us, not the man-made things, because the man-made things can scare us. All right. So we see what man-made stuff is going on, and that's where the chaotic craziness is mostly located. They're trying to blame it on climate chaos. Well, they spraying the bejeebers out of the sky, at least over the United States, and so of course there's stuff going on. We're still getting fallout radiation from all the years of A-bomb testing out in Nevada all them years ago. There's still stuff coming down out of the atmosphere from that. Not counting all of the nuclear power plants all over the United States. And they all have little problems where they have to vent steam that's highly contaminated into our atmosphere. And so that's going on all the time. So, and they want to worry about the pollution from a diesel truck, But anyway, but the fear, right? The chaos of fear. Oh, we have to go to all electric because, and we have to do this because fear, 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 fear. The climate change. And me and a couple of old timers were talking about the other day, and we were talking. I said, as we have made the comment between us, that these young whippersnappers just ain't lived long enough to know what climate change really is. Because we've lived here 40, 45 years and we've seen the climate change a lot. One year I remember it was 18 degrees Fahrenheit. Damn Celsius crap. It was 18 degrees Fahrenheit, in April. And people didn't, they say, oh, they didn't say nothing about climate change. They said, oh my God, we sure do have a cold spring. Nobody remembers that. But it happened in my lifetime, says he. And I'm like, yeah, I remember the time in, March 15th that snowed in Norman Park, Georgia. I was there, damn near froze to death. There was snow on the ground for 3 days. That was the truth. But people just, oh my God, it's a, we're being frozen to death. Well, no, now it's a heating, and now it's a frozen, and now we're freezing to death. And now, but here's the deal: climate's been changing back and forth and up and down all the time. So for folks to get all upset about this particular period of time, this, and I was listening to the NOAA weather radar thingy. Transmitter just up the road from here, like 14 miles or something. But the NOAA weather radar, and this was a couple of weeks ago, and the coldest temperature for ever recorded was back in 1918, and the temperature was like 28 degrees, and this was like at the end of March, right? And I was like, holy crap. But in 1918, so they had records back then, and they knew what was going on. So in 1918, 100 years ago, it was colder than it is now. So is that climate change? Well, but the next 2 weeks, if you listen to the high for the day, well, the high for the day was, 85 degrees in 1922. It's like, holy crap. So they had a dip back 100 years ago. Oh my God, but we're all going to die. 100 years later, we're still here with climate change. So, that it's all about fear, my friends. We're coming up on a 20, and I want to make sure that I'm ready so I can share it with y'all. So, there's fear of food shortage. Now, get this. They're trying to promote that gardening, that home gardening could be bad and is bad and detrimental to your health. Street Hawk was better. Yeah, you can't buy into their fear. Now, there are some things that if they say, well, a rail car, dumped over in the river, y'all don't drink the water. Listen to that shit. You better pay attention to that. They may not be lying. I was in a wheelchair and screamed in pain. I'm healing and I walk and play with my grandchildren. I just have some limits. Witch Moon, you and me too. I wasn't in a wheelchair, but I was destined for a walker and I still haven't used it, But I do have a cane and I do have my walking sticks. And there are some days I just can't do it. But anyway, gardening is wonderful and very relaxing. Yep. They're trying to put stipulation and permit requirements on half-acre gardens. Yep. And you know what else now? I thought they were joking, but I have subscribed to Survivor Lily for years, right? And a couple of weeks ago, she did a thing about they're telling people that gardening is bad for you and so forth. And they want to put restrictions on it over in Austria, where she lives. But that also that they want people to start registering their chickens. And she was like, that's ridiculous. Farm animal, but But to register your chickens like a dog, especially if you live in an urban situation in a neighborhood and you got chickens in your backyard. Okay, so they're worried about bird flu. Oh, okay. All right. So not just any flu, but the bird flu. So if you have birds that could get the flu, then you might get the bird flu. Okay. So I mentioned this to a friend of mine from around here, and he goes, "That's not really a joke, Dave." And I went, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you know all these chicken farms around here?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, they have to be registered." And I was like, "Well, yeah, they got millions of chickens they deal with all the time." He goes, "Yeah, but some of the smaller ones that grow just the little bitties, they have to be licensed, and they have to license the different broods. So if this chicken was brooded in January of this year, for example, and that it was grown by this next grower who fed this brood out and then sold it to the Tyson Food Group. And so that if anything, so the Tyson Food Group knew which brood they were chopping up and processing, just like in manufacturing. So it's like, but so he said, don't laugh. He said, the county has the right for you to register if you want to have chickens again. And I was like, say what? I had 20 chickens at one time, and I was giving eggs away to people and trading stuff out, just, good old, fashioned eggs. Now, if they see a sign that you might be selling eggs, then they have the right to drive up your driveway and have you to, are your chickens registered? What the fudge? Are your chickens registered? So I thought that like this was going to be a future thing. Apparently, it's already here. Now, it's mostly because of all these chicken farms around here, and the different stages of chickens that they raise and how they raise them and that kind of thing. So, but they're not interested in us little people at the time. And most folks out here in the country, they don't pay no attention to that shit. You know what I mean? But if you was to like provoke somebody or poke a politician or something, or you pissed off the deputy sheriff or something, they have the right to come down your driveway and to see, if your chickens are licensed. So it's like, saw a thing USDA wanting you to register your garden. Yeah, right. But roosters are so fun. No, they're not when they attack you. And yeah, all of it's a trap, especially now. It's really gotten weird. I try not to agree with that everything's gotten weird, but everything's gotten weird. You know, there are pictures at the front of my house on the internet that you can look up and give my address kind of thing using this realtor app or something, and you can see the corner of my house. And it's like, I didn't agree to have anybody take a picture of my house. They drove up in the yard and went click, click, must have got out because there's, two different views. And it's, oh, yes, it is. Thank you, Chloe. Um, and I didn't give these people permission, but because they was from the government, and it has to do with taxes. So that, here's a description of my property, and there's the house, and it's only worth $10,000. So, there you go. But anyway, but I didn't give anybody permission for that, to take the picture nor to publish it. But they do it anyway because they can. Y'all know Miss Sheila, my neighbor. You have it. Her hubby is Mr. Ricky, and about once a week we get together and do a, and have a conversation. How are things? And you know, um, and so he was like, he said something got my rooster, you know, and they had the rooster, in a pen because we know better. I mean, he lives more closer to the swamp than I do, even though it's right in my backyard. He's like surrounded by it, where I'm not. But he's like, man, something got my rooster. So the other morning I was outside with Duggar, and sure enough, he got himself a new rooster. But he was like, man, I don't know if it was a fox or what it was, but something got my rooster. And I've had several roosters and chickens disappear. That's why the last time something got into my chicken pen and took out 18 chickens overnight. Not a feather. It was like somebody opened the door and just let them out. And not a mark where there had been a fight or drag marks under the door or any breaks in the fence or nothing. 18 chickens just gone. So weird things happen in the swamp. I tell you what, it might have been UFOs that just wanted to have a chicken wing dinner, Oh, which brings up a minor topic. Puff, puff, pass, pass. While we're passing. For those of us who are surrounded by large chicken houses, and I mean millions of chickens per house. Okay, I don't mean a million chickens in total. No, I mean a million chickens on one farm per house kind of thing. Per chicken house is what I mean. And them suckers are big. And they will rotate out about 3 times, 4 times a year. Okay. So you're talking about 3 million chickens per farm. All right. Now, somebody was talking about it and they was like, oh man, I love my chicken wings. Man, I had 12 chicken wings. And my buddy said, he said, do you know them 12 chicken wings? That means that you just killed 6 chickens. And he's like, what you talking about, Willis? And he goes, well, chicken has 2 wings and you had 12 of them. And so that means that 6 chickens died so you could have 12 chicken wings. Do you comprehend what that means? 6 chickens died for your chicken wings, for your platter of chicken wings. And why don't you get more? And how come it costs so much for chicken wings? You just murdered 6 chickens for them 12 wings. Now, what do you think about that? Well, I don't know. Them chicken wings are pretty dang good. Right. Do you care about the 12 chickens that died? No. Did you ever think about it? No. Do you actually really care? Not till they bring me out my next plate of chicken wings. I just boiled 2 chickens tonight. A gator will come inland 3 miles for chickens. If they're hungry enough and the weather's dry, they'll come further than that. But yeah, I agree with that. I love billed chickens. Billed? I got you. Like the rest of the chickens were eaten by someone else. But to the point, though, when you look, folks don't understand, well, we had a bunch of chicken wings, but do you realize how many? It wasn't that you had chicken thighs. There's 2 per chicken because you eat 1 or 2 and that's like it. So, you ate parts of a chicken versus the parts of 6 or 8 chickens, you know? So the rate of mortality for your dinner, you know, got grapes. Hey Mark, how you doing? I love bacon and sausage. Yep. I had to give that up years ago. Every once in a while though, it ain't too bad, but um I think if I ate more bacon and sausage, my heart would be worse than it is. Keep an eye out for two-legged for two-legged varmints nowadays. Yeah, that's like, you know, there was this you know, relative that from the city had come out to the farm that to visit his relatives, you know, and there was the Mr. and the Mrs. and 2 kids and a pig, like Arnold the pig. From Green Acres is the place to be. You know, farm living is the life for me. Land spreading out so far and wide. Anyway, forget Manhattan, just give me the countryside. I had to finish the line. Anyway, so you know, the relative is City Slicker sitting there, you know, and he said, "Well, what are we gonna have for stay? You gonna stay for dinner?" Well, all right, you know, they convinced him. They said, "Well, we think we're having ham tonight." Really? Yeah, we're gonna you know cook up a ham, and we got you know this everything, and you hear this from the corner, right? So him and the guy go out, you know, and he says, "Sit on the front porch here and drink you some lemonade, and you know, and sit with the you know." And a little bit later, you know, he smells something cooking. Man, it smells good, you know. And there's some collard greens in there. He ain't had collard greens in so long, you know. And so he smells these collard greens, and you know, there's you know a whiff of like, is that mashed potato he'd be smelling or something, you know? And but or what is that, you know? And so they go in to eat, and he said, "Well, you know," but he said, "Sorry, we didn't have any more, you know, but this ham to eat here at the meal." And he said, "Well, that's just fine." He said, "Good, because Wilbur over there, you know, which he's missing a leg now, right?" He goes, "Oh, Wilbur over there, he just didn't want to give up another limb." You know, come on over for dinner. We're going to not kill the pig. We're just going to cut off a leg, you know. So, you know, one-legged chicken, you know, three-legged pig. So, but yeah, that's how it might get to be. And that's how some people think it, you know, but to the point though that uh, here's the thing about the fear. So here is this person's fear of not being able to get enough chicken wings to eat. So here's fear. Well, you know, if things getting tightened up, I won't be able to come in here and drink beer and eat chicken wings. I can drink the beer, but they won't have no chicken wings. So his fear was losing chicken wings when he doesn't realize how many damn chickens it takes for him to eat him and his cronies to eat a couple of batches of chicken wings. You know, and bitch, 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 bitch. When you ain't got a clue of what you folks around this table, if you lived out here in the country and saw how many chickens that was, and saw how they had to be raised to get to be chicken wings, and how much they had to go to the market and all this other stuff, and you want to sit around this table and bitch because they cost so much, and that you're afraid that if things tighten up, you might not have chicken wings. Would you shut up? And to think that there are people that that's what their fears are. Scrooby dooby doo. These people's got a scrooby dooby doo loose. You know, what the hell? But so, but then there are folks who are seriously scared of true things, you know. chemicals in their water systems that are true. You know, them folks up there in around Detroit up there, you know, they still haven't had their water straightened out. There are still places around, you know, that still have iffy water, you know, and it's like, you know, cut it out, you know. So, yeah, and I have to get back on living more off of eggs. I have moved away from it. My diet has changed over this last year. And I have literally stood in the kitchen and went, what happened? Literally, what happened? You know, I used to do this and this and this. And of course, it was my back surgery that kept me down and out of the kitchen a lot. And I got, you know, accommodating by these frozen dinner type thingies and meals. Grateful that they got sent to me and all that good stuff. But then the residual of that is I'm finding that I'm buying more frozen dinner kind of things because they've got some really good ones at the store now, and not like the old days. And so I get a couple of these and a little bit of that, and I don't really have to cook. So, and just for me, you know, it's a meal, got enough protein and so forth. So, you know, why not? And the price is, you know, comparable. But I realized I'm eating other people's junk food. It's not junk food. There are real potatoes, and there's a real piece of meat, and there's a real this, and you know, there's real pasta and tomato. And but I didn't cook it. Somebody else did, you know. And that I could make that pasta and tomato sauce. I could make a whole pot of it for the price that I paid for this little tray. You know what I mean? So, and I got to get myself back to it, and I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But you know, people, I in this last year could see how easy people can transition off of things. Like, well, during the COVID thing, you know, people started buying indoor, and now they get boxes of food, and now they get all this stuff that fills up their refrigerator. They don't even have to go to the damn grocery store, you know. And well, I don't have to worry about things running out of the grocery store. I get it in a box in the mail. Okay, so I don't see anything wrong with that, other than it's it's the dependency of the box in the mail. That's all. You know, people are so dependent in big cities and stuff that, you know, here it comes in the mail. Well, what if the mail don't come? Just saying. Do you still know how to get to the grocery store? You know, do you still know how to buy things from a grocery store? Do you know how to pick produce out from a grocery store? Or are you just relying on the box to come in the mail? So it's like you will unlearn how to do certain basic things, like go to the market. You know, in some countries, it's all about going to the market. It's it's the experience of going to the market. You know, in Thailand and in some places in Mexico, and you know, in different places around the world, you know, it's all about going to the market in India, you know, and different places, Africa and other places too. All these open markets people go, sort of like flea markets for us. But you know, at least it used to be. Um, and so here are these open markets, right? So, but if people are have cut that out of their lives, then they are disassociating themselves from society. Now, they might be afraid to go out, and they may be afraid to interact with society. And they may be right in that the food that they get in the box is more fresh and better and so forth, and less trouble, and just as, you know, costs the same kind of thing. I have no problem with that. I really. But my thing is that how quickly will this part of society learn that that's the only norm? That's my point. Where in a year's time, you know, because of my back condition and operation and so forth, um, I got into relying more on, you know, dinners in the oven versus cooking it. and how quickly in a year's time I'm kind of sort of hooked on the damn things. And I'm like, well, how do I cook again? So in a year's time, of course, my old age and crap, in a year's time, though, my my consciousness has changed in that. Wait a minute, I have to unlearn how to eat and or buy these dinners, and I got to remember how to cook pasta again. And I used to whip up a dinner in 30 minutes, that was healthy and wholesome and all that good stuff. And now I pop in this dinner in the oven and wait for it to get hot because I don't have a microwave and won't get one again. I've had them. And I might have one up in the trailer, but I won't go up there. But but anyway, that red rust is often a sign. Minerals in the water, fracking. The wrong minerals in the water, metal rust and diesel. Yeah, if you can light it, that's bad. Now, see, I've talked about my well. It's 22 feet deep, and I went through red clay about 9.5 feet, and at about 9.5 feet, I hit mixed clay of red and white clay, and then down about 11 feet, it turned more into white clay, and it's white clay the rest of the way down. So at the bottom of my well, there have been small cave-ins of the red clay that fell into the bottom of my well. And so now I'm still pumping red clay out of the bottom of my well. And I've lifted up the pipe, but it's still entrained in the water. But I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and he's like, you know what those minerals are, don't you, Dave? And I said, yeah, they're from the side there. It's the clay from the side of the well, And he goes, there are people who have, a little bit of red stuff in their water and they don't know what it is. Think about that. And I was like, well, yeah. And at the other side of that coin, as I've talked about before, that, people eat clay around here. And so his next comment was like, well, and at least, you're getting, a good dosage of minerals. And you know where those minerals are coming from. They're coming from the bottom of my well. That is all true. So I quit worrying about whether or not the water I was pouring into my coffee pot was, well, I need to have it more clean. I said, screw it. Maybe that's my problem is I've been trying to go back to bottled water to do certain things with when I should just stick with my own well water, So that's what I've done since the first of the year. I just went back to my own well water. Hi, Bramisha. How are you? I just got a warning before they let me watch. A warning? The clay eaters, I think it was probably Pascalite clay, though. Down here, like at the bottom of my clay, at the bottom of my well is the white clay. And when I've told this story before, but when I was in Selma, Alabama, stopped there for gas one year, they had these little bags of clay for sale. And it was like $20 for this little bag of clay. And it was like, what's the deal? And they was like, well, these two black ladies behind the counter. And it was like, well, mister, you eats it. And I was like, really? I'm sitting on about, 100,000 bags of this stuff is under my house. What? Yeah, it's at the bottom of my well. If you dig in my yard deep enough, you're gonna run into this stuff, And of course, I've talked about the old timers and the shown up country rednecks around here. that, friends of mine who, they were talking about, we were talking about fishing in the pond. They went, yeah, last week when we went down to the pond, to get our fish on, and of course to get our monthly dose of clay. And I was like, you said fish and what? Well, to get our monthly dose of clay, so we eats it. And I was like, yeah, okay. So, but there are old timers around here, as I've talked about before. And so apparently, there are folks who think that it's just, like cool to do. Yeah, I eat some clay. Really? Well, I've been doing it for 40 years since I dug my well, it's just sort of there. So what is like super duper interesting cool now is like, sorry, y'all. I've been doing this for a long time, you know, and um, I do have cysts on my kidneys, but at 71, they're still working. I just went to the kidney doctor recently. They did updated pictures of my kidneys. Nothing has increased. They are uh, not any worse, but not any better than they were a year ago. So that's really good at my age. So my body system is maintaining. Um, and so, okie doke. So if this clay water and everything was really, really bothering me or killing me in some way, it'd be showing up, is my point. And it hasn't. So I'm grateful for that. I will continue to drink my water with clay in it. Um, I don't really eat much fruit. I'm not a fan of a peach unless it's from a tin in syrup. Well, now, Richard, Georgia is known for its peaches, the Georgia peach, and when the real good peaches come in around here, they good. And a lot of folks just don't get a really good peach. And some of the peaches around here, there's some that are grown up around Fort Valley, Georgia, that are the size of softballs and good. When did you see how Amber transforming? We all tap into the underground water source. Peach cobbler, woo wee. Yeah, right, exactly. Now, but I would agree with you. There's something about peaches in a can, right? With light syrup. Now the thick syrup's okay, but at my age, I got to watch my weight. Make it a cobbler, right? Um, but anyway, so but fruit is absolutely good for you. You got to have it to help you keep, cleaned out, and you got to have it big because of scurvy. There's some the one sources. Almost every fruit's got some kind of vitamin C to it, and it's going to keep the scurvy down. So they're trying to scare everybody that you can't have chickens because we're going to register them. You can't grow a garden because you're going to get your hands dirty and you're going to get germs. Now, I talked about this before, and as has some other people, but during the COVID thing, everybody was washing their hands 2 and 3 times every time. You know, they were OCDing on it, right? And they were using all kinds of stuff and germ killers and things, and they're still kind of promoting it, but not as bad. But there are people who are wiping the banister on their house, and 2 or 3 times. The kid went upstairs, got to wipe the thing. The kid came downstairs, got to wipe the germs off. They've just gone nuts, right? So, but things have calmed down slightly, but that's fear, right? It's fear because of a germ, right, that you can't see. But now for me living down here, it's almost I'm just a grade above living outdoors. you know, uh, I'm although I have electricity, I don't have many electric. Well, I do have a lot of electric devices, but only when I need them. I turn on the hot water when I want hot water, and I turn it off when I'm done. I've got this low, a 25-watt bulb in this lamp right here. I think the highest lamp I have is a 60 watt. Most of them are 40 watt because when you get used to low light, you don't need bright lights, and you find out that that's just, wasted electricity. But anyway, so when you learn how to to live in a conservative way, you still get what I still have what I want. I can plug in 1,000-watt bulb if I want, but I've learned how to get by with these things. And if I need something brighter, I turn on 2 or 3 lights. So it's not like when I need it, I got it right, but I don't need it all the time. And there are people who have 100-watt bulbs in their houses all the time, and and their eyes get so used to that 100-watt bulb they can't see without it. That's sort of my point. So that's just one thing. And so people are afraid, if my house isn't well lit, something's going to get me. Well, trust me, that light ain't going to do you any good if something wants to come get you. But that's another story, right? So, but fear of being in the dark, fear that it's not bright enough, fear that one house going into Moultrie. Oh my God! Riding down the street, or it is a street. It's a road more than a street. But here's this house sits off the road, a couple 100 feet, right? Nice home. Uh, a story and a half, 2-story with dormers, kind of thing, and and this thing is lit up on the outside like it was a mansion, right? And you couldn't get within 50 feet of that house. It's so well lit up from the way they as far back as they have these lights. And I'm like, these people, there's nobody out here to, like, are you trying to show off your house? Or are you that afraid? And after all these years, it's because they're afraid. Because there still ain't nobody live out here, and there still ain't no reason for you to like be showcasing your house with all these freaking floodlights. So it must be that you're afraid. And I've not heard of anybody getting broken into or anything out here in the country out here, because people know, even from the city, if you come up on a house out here in the country, you're liable to get shot. You are liable to get shot. And folks know not to fuck with people out in the country. You don't go up on a house and you don't know if they got a dog in there. You don't know if they got a little yippy dog. And you walk up close to the house and there might not be no lights. And then all of a sudden you hear this yip, 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 yip. And about that time you hear this, what is it, Junior? And the back door flies open. And the next thing you know, you got buckshot coming at you. And and these guys know how to use them, right? So folks in the neighborhood, they just don't steal from one another. They just don't. They go and borrow it if they need it bad enough. But somebody from any of the local city communities want to come out here, they ain't gonna do nothing. They ain't gonna try nothing. They know better. They know they will, white or black, they will get their ass shot, you know, and so they don't. They don't. So any killings or shootings have been mostly between Mexicans and some blacks in some kind of drug, sort of some kind of transaction, right? And a little bit of thieving and stuff, and like Thomasville or Moultrie, but it's usually, related to some kind of, uh, other type of transaction. But folks don't, come out here in the country and bother other folks. They just don't. They just don't. And And yeah, somebody, well, would you go out there and try to steal somebody? No. Why? Well, because I wouldn't get away with it. How come? Because I get shot. Really? Yeah, even mama knows how to shoot a rifle. Like, go ahead, sneak up on Miss Sheila and try to steal something from out of her yard. When she shoots several deer a year, go ahead, try to steal something from her yard, especially when the bulldog starts barking, and you hear this, where is it, Brutus? You know, and you're dead meat. So and say, well, that's the lady of the house, you know, and we know Miss Sheila, so but so folks out here in the country, so there are folks in this world is like, well, it, so my point to this is everybody is not afraid of being house and somebody breaking in because they've got their trusty shotgun. They've got their trusty something. There's one hanging on the wall or something. Not and if there ain't any kids around, there might be one leaning up against the wall by the door. You know, my 22 is rifle thingy is over there towards the door. So if I need to, as I'm walking towards the door, I can cock it one time, make sure it's loaded, and anybody that comes to the door, then I also got a baseball bat. You know, and for close for close quarter, situations. So it's like, you know, and I got bows and arrows. I got a bow hanging up back here. I got arrows right here on the stairs if it gets to that point. So, what just looks like a redneck's house with stuff hanging around. I've got several weapons within a couple of feet of reach of me if I need it, right? So I'm not scared. I also have some big knives, you know, um, and I'm not trying to kill anybody. This is just what I got. So there are folks who live in the country who have such things, you know. Not everybody, no, not everybody. But mama ain't afraid to shoot a gun. And if there's a teenager 14 or 15, and if daddy's done any hunting, then that 14 or 15-year-old knows how to shoot that gun. Okay. And is allowed to shoot it when necessary. So not discussing pistols in any way, but they're pistols too. They're, Georgia is a open carry state. So, there are pistols too. So go ahead, be violent down here with some of us rednecks, and other rednecks don't want to be violent with other rednecks. I mean, if they got a disagreement, they'll just get out and fist fight it out. And there has been them rare times when somebody say, well, you some bitch, and you beat me up and I beat you up, and pull out a pistol and go bang, and well, things turn, but that ain't every time. But it has happened, sort of like the old West, but folks thinking, oh my God, there are rednecks down there. There are folks in the city who are fearful of us rednecks down here. There's a study that came out here recently that they're worried about us rural voters. What? They're worried about us rural redneck red state voters. Are you kidding me? Nope. Fear and chaos. They're sowing to these people. Have listened to it on one of the major channels, right? And wanted to puke. It was all I could do to finish listening to it, right? That the voters are worried because we are a certain constituency. We are MAGA people, and us MAGA people are going to tear up the Constitution. What? Has any of these people on the other side listened to what a true MAGA person is? We stand up for the Constitution. You dumbass. We don't want to tear it up. We want to tear up your version of the Constitution. We want to tear up these crazy things and laws you try to make that try to, go around the Constitution, that try to subvert the Constitution. We want to tear that shit up. But no, we don't want to tear the Constitution up. We want to uphold it. So these folks who are trying to say that us MAGA people, but see, us MAGA people, I do want to make America great again. I do. I'm still on this. Am I, a Trump thumper? So, no, but depending on how, if things are the way they're going now, I would vote. I would still vote for Trump. Okay, because he's only got 4 more years. Am I worried about him becoming a dictator? No, because technically and legally, he's only got 4 more years. But in 4 more years, he could straighten some stuff out and get things back on the right track. So am I worried? No, because we could only have him for 4 more years. And better him for 4 more years to see who else shows up in politics. That's where I'm at with that. Now, if RFK hadn't got that lady lawyer whose husband is in charge of Google or something like that, it's like, what? That was weird. I thought RFK could have picked a better vice president. He don't think so, but okay. Female and a lawyer, not too bad. She's a whole lot more articulate than Kamala Harris is. I'll give her that right off the bat. So, but anyway, so who's Trump going to get for a VP choice? Pick something. That could end it for a lot of people. Dominic, oh, hey, how you doing? So, but anyway, everything's still fear mongering. And there are still some folks out there, and it's rumbling. The Joe Rogan and folks have talked about it, and some other podcasts and folks have talked about it. Dominic. That, are we actually even going to have an election this November? Will it actually transpire? And one of the things I'm wondering, just curiosity wise, is are they going to actually have a Democratic convention? I mean, like, seriously, are there going to be a bunch of delegates and everybody from every state? Are they all going to show up and do the thing, the big party thing? And is Joe Biden going to go out and give a speech and everybody's going to, are they really going to do that this year? There hasn't been any hints about the big Democratic Party thing, where other folks could nominate other people, to be the Democratic Party leader and to be the, but yeah, I haven't heard anything about it, I heard something about where it might be, Detroit or something, but anyway, and the Republicans the same way. Well, are they going to have a Republican convention? Are they going to spend all the money and the time and everything when they've already went through the primaries, and Nikki Haley and these folks, they all lost out. But could they have a convention and they bring Trump in, and during the convention, they propose different VP selections to Trump, right, as a convention should do, and that in there they go, well, what about this one? And Trump might go, and that, so if all the other Republicans agree on the VP, they might be more likely to not, this is Republicans now, that the Republicans might not be so harsh on Trump and might be like, well, we want this guy, and we would, if we can have this guy as the VP, then we'll quit bitching about Trump so much. That's how politics should run. That's what happened, guess what, with JFK and Lyndon B. Johnson back in the 1959 election in the 60s, okay? Because Lyndon was like, you can't win without me in the Southern vote. So they twisted and finangled, and LBJ got to be the VP. So, this kind of politics, that's what politics is. So let the Republican Party nominate a VP to run with Trump and see what he says. That'd be his political way of like, okay, guys, you want me to play ball? All right, I'll play ball. This is who you want for VP. In case something happens to me, you want this guy to be the president. Okay. See, now if he just chooses himself, which is probably still likely, if he chooses himself who he wants the VP, now he can give us, suggestions and selections, but if he chooses, then everybody across the board can bitch. But if he's smart, he'll go to the convention and let them pick his VP. Now he can bitch and complain about it at the convention, but if he picks his own VP without the approval of the rest of the Republicans, he'll shoot himself in the foot. But see, there's fear there. You understand? So yeah, there are some really good choices out there. And if you really look at the Constitution, that I can't remember which article it is, but in voting for the president and the vice president, I read something where if there's from two parties, right, president, both running for president, the loser becomes the vice president. So if Trump were to win this election, then Biden would become the vice president, and vice versa. If Biden wins the presidency and Trump loses, Trump would become the vice president. And like, look it up, because when I read it, I was like, some bitch. So went somewhere, and it has been discussed that somewhere along the line that there used to be that you voted for the president and you also voted for the vice president separately, not together. What? Yep. And so it's like, well, now, when was the last time you heard anything about that? So somewhere along the line, the two got slid together. So back in the days of Teddy Roosevelt, and back in the turn of the century, 100 years ago, somewhere along in there, but they didn't change anything. They just started doing it this way. But so, we don't need another Kamala. No, but this lady, well, she's white, so that must make her a supremacist, and she's a lawyer. That makes her a dumbass. But and she's married to a famous person. Whoa, connections. But at least she has, she can speak in complete sentences that you can understand. So all right with that. We made it through 4 years of Biden with Kamala as the VP. Gee, many Christmas, only a few more months, and maybe that things will change, right? But in the meantime, so we're lucky that we made it without any major incidents. You know what I mean? We should all be thankful to the Creator. And I have fear that there's 6 months left. And there's still time for them to fuck up. Excuse my language, but anyway. So, but who knows what else could happen between now and then, right? And that's one of the things that people are scared about in this chaos of things. Well, what if this happens? Well, that's true. What if? But there are some people that are putting forth the fear. And it's like I was mentioning earlier, watching an episode of Rawhide, right? With Rowdy Yates. And so how do they turn the herd of cattle? They shoot a gun into the air. Where the bullet lands, we know not where, but it turns the cattle. They don't want to go near the gunshot. So bang, bang, and the cattle turn, That's the only way they can get, from the cattle from stampeding through the town, right? Is for them to ride along and shoot up in the sky and to turn the herd just before town. And so it's kind of sort of like that in there. They're shooting stuff into the air, and where the shit lands, no one's aware. But that they're trying to scare us, into a certain direction. And so, like the statements about, and it came out a couple of months ago. They were doing some kind of polling or something, and us rural redneck MAGA voters, in other words, Republicans, right? And I was a Democrat forever until recently in my years. And like, screw this mess, right? You know, and when I look at some of the Democrats and so forth within the state and I've listened to some of their politics, I still ain't voting Democrat, even though I might still affiliate with that party. I'm not voting for them because they don't make no sense. They're nuts. So yeah, their agenda is stupid, right? I ain't following along with it. So, but there are some Republicans that are stupid too. Now, not just because they're Republican or do they have any sense about them. Now, don't get me wrong. And it is about the person. But I'm not. But I used to just like, ooh, Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. Not in a long time. But but the fear mongering of what's going on. So folks want to. The fear of listening to those pundits on NBC and places like that, they're scaring people. The rural MAGA Republican voters representing the rednecks of rural America, that society is worried about us and that we are like terrorists because of our political views and because we have guns. Now, I can't own a firearm, but I've got bows and arrows. I have air guns that you won't hear coming, but I don't have a firearm, but I have weapons. And that be true, like I just said a little bit ago, even the women know how to shoot and kill, don't mess with these folks down here, You can mess with them, but if you think you're going to win, like right off the bat, and it's going to be like, you better think 3 or 4 times, not just twice. So these folks who are doing the polling are scared of our ass because we own guns, because we are opinionated, because, oh my God, we happen to be Republican, and because we're Republican, we might because we love our country, because we love America, because we do love the Constitution, and because of our gun rights, which is part of the Constitution that we don't want to tear up. And so because of this, and that makes us MAGA people, and that makes us dangerous. Now, just all of that is true. What? It is. All of it's true. Especially the fact that they're scared of us. Really. Because if we should have got our way the last time, but something intervened. And I got to say this: Biden getting elected this last time taught America a bunch of stuff that they've been listening to the wrong news. They've been listening to people who are telling lies every chance they can, and they're making stuff up. And here is the big deal. They're trying to scare us again this time around. Anybody that, hey, Alex, did I say hi to you earlier? What do you mean we've made it? We barely survived. What I mean by it is that it wasn't worse. We didn't get nuked. Okay. She didn't push a button. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I'm old and decrepit, and I remember when it was worse than it is now. Not that it's good, and I'm not praising it. Don't get me wrong, but there were a lot of visions and provisions that showed some derelict things that would have happened, that we'd be eaten out of the trenches right about now. That we'd all be in bunkers and wearing fallout gear from the acid and nuclear rain that we'd be getting. So far, it hadn't turned out that way. Have times been hard? Yes. Have people suffered? Yes. Have things been really weird? Yes. But did we get into any of these other things that resulted in some of this other stuff? No. And it could have. And in a lot of ways, it was headed that way. So that's why I say we've made it through this far from that kind of calamity. Okay. And hope it stays that way, for the next 6 months, right? So I hope it improves in other ways, economically and with food and so forth, a timeline. Yes, absolutely, F Kitty. That is a timeline we avoided. Absolutely. And 2 years ago, it looked like we was barreling down the cosmic highway and headed, so we have reached a fork in the road of our realities, in that what some of the forecast was. I'm glad you brought that up as far as the timeline thing. Thank you. Thank you. Because I was missing it. But it was in my head, but I was missing it. But so thank you. But so this fork in the road of reality, which is in my notes over here, coming down tonight along with this subject for tonight, right? So this fork in the road of reality is that our reality is it could have went this way, and it was headed that way, sort of like that ship headed that ended up hitting that bridge, and that bridge collapsed. Thank goodness it was at night and there wasn't many people on it. But the bridge collapsed. Yeah, but it didn't kill 500,000 people, and it didn't do that. Yes, but the bridge collapsed. I know, but it could have been worse. But how worse? Never mind if you don't understand what I mean. So yes, it was tragic. Yes, it was bad. But yes, there was very little loss of life, and yes, and but they still want to push the chaos. You see, they still want to push the fear. Now there are people who are afraid to go across the bridge, and depending on the bridge, I would be careful too. So, and we have had other bridge collapses over the many years, right? Since they've had bridges, basically, I reckon there have been bridge accidents. But 6 minutes. I'm ready. So, but in this grand scheme of things, is are we all, are we all going to be afraid of bridges from now on? We're never going to want to cross a bridge now. Um, is a so the fear there. So there are different levels of PTSD, if you will. Well, I saw that boat hit that bridge, and I don't want to go across this bridge now. Okay, that means you got 4 hours to drive around the bay to get to the other side. Okay, if you agree to that, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. I might think it's silly, but okay, I can understand. I have phobias too that I didn't realize I had, but okay, I get it. I'm not going to call you crazy. I'm not going to call you insane, but that might be the way it works out with people, right? So, and one of the things that in this chaotic realm of that taken a different path. So the chaos is also in religion, right? And in spiritualism. And I was talking with some folks, it was 2 weeks ago now, some Mennonite folks who were very nice and polite and everything. But as the conversation was talking about, Jesus and the end of the world and, and dying and going to the other side kind of thing. And they were like, so how do you, talking to me, they were like, how do you know, your idea of spiritualism is right? And I said, well, I feel like I'm connected to the Christ consciousness all the time. I made my declaration and promise years ago, and I intend to keep it. I intend to be as good a person as I can for the rest of my life because I can't change my past. But I can just do the best I can for the rest of my life, however long it is. So how do that you're going to get there without Jesus? And I said, y'all didn't listen to me. I just said I made my deal with the Christ consciousness, that I am a warrior for Christ. Now, what else do I need? I have made my declaration of faith. I have made my declaration that I will continue it as long as I'm alive. What else do I need to declare? Well, you need to read your Bible. And I was like, why? And they said, because in the Bible, it teaches you. And I said, stop right there. I said, in all of my years of reading and studying, in all the years of my Catholic catechism study about Jesus and God and the church and the Bible and all that stuff, I said, at this stage of my life, I've learned what I need from the Bible. I have learned what I need to know about Jesus. I've learned what I need to know about the way to get to the other side correctly and with as much grace as possible. So why should I keep reading it? What else am I going to learn? Now, if y'all need to keep reading to keep learning, y'all go right ahead. 100% setup. My best friend's a retired boat captain. He said if they dropped anchor to stop the boat, that could have happened. I've been in boats myself and tossed out an anchor and had the boats get slung around. Not that I've hit a bridge, but I know the feeling. I have been caught under a bridge before, down in Tampa Bay when the tide was going out, and got trapped with was about an 18-foot sailboat, single master with a jib, and got caught up against the Howard Franklin. No, I don't know if it was the Howard Franklin Bridge or not. But anyway, we got slung up against it, and we was banging up against it. So yeah, I know about, you got to toss that anchor out sometimes to move your ass end around. Oh, I hit that right on the 20, didn't I? Smoke if you got them. So with religion and spiritualism, so they were trying to put the fear of God in me when I had just stated to them how I had professed my faith in God and that I had made my commitment to it with the Christ consciousness and that I was doing the best I can under the circumstances. But somehow to them, it still wasn't enough. And so the lady asked me, she said, so how do you know you're going to make it when you get to heaven if you don't have the word of God with you? And I said, how do you know you're going to make it with that book? I said, and I guess we'll find out when we get there. But so that somehow the book in my hands somehow is going to magically make it better for me. What good is the book if I don't follow what's in it? What good is the book if I'm not wholeheartedly spiritual and have dedicated my life to the book? So since I've already made up my mind on all these things, I know how to pull a carburetor. Okay. I know how to pull a radiator. I know how to change a belt in a truck. I know how to change spark plugs most of the time on those vehicles that still have them. I know how to do certain things. I don't need a book anymore to do a mechanic on those things that I know. I don't have to look at a book and tell how to change spark plugs. I might have to look up the gap on the spark plug, but you got to do that with any spark plug that you pull. But you know how to do it. You know how to change the wires. Done it once or twice, you know how to do it. So, if I have submitted my life to Christ, then why do I need to keep looking at the book if I already know what I'm doing? If I'm already committed to that, I know already how to change the spark plugs. So why do I need to tote the mechanic's book under my arm? So, don't threaten me with whether or not I'm going to make it, which is what they were trying to do. Well, if you don't have the good book, and if you don't have religion, and if you don't have, then what? You're going to make it before me. And, and I'm like, okay. Which brings up another topic that had come up in this little download tonight was like, time for another puff. So, but the other topic was judgment. This judgment. Hang on. So, judgment. The judgment of what? The judgment of us. The judgment of our politics. The judgment of, well, are you going to vote for Trump? Well, I bet you, because somebody might judge me if I say yes. Are you a MAGA Trumper? Well, if I say yes, somebody's going to judge me. Well, yeah, because they're going to know where you stand politically. At least better than if you say, I'm voting for Biden. Really? Oh, never mind. Oh, please, Jesus, don't, But either one we vote for or who makes it, there's only 4 more years, I would rather see Trump give us 4 more years of trying to clear stuff back up, though. I really would, versus the Biden regime. But anyway, we'll see. But the fear of religion, Okay. The fear of, well, like they were trying to fear monger me into that, well, you must come to church. And in order to fulfill that last little bit that the God wants from you. And like, what's that? Because I'm not religious enough. And I said, but I'm as spiritual as I know how to be. But you're not religious enough. Like somehow being in the church or being preached to is going to make me somehow more religious. That it's somehow going to make me more spiritual. And that somehow that's going to somehow do me more good when I cross over to the other side. Now, having had a couple of near-death experiences, the answer to that is that ain't going to matter. That is not going to matter. It ain't going to matter. That is not going to matter. Now, the fact that I have my frequency up and the fact that, they're trying to scare us on all these different levels, which lowers our vibration and our frequencies. So going into these next years, now whatever these next years are, months, years, days, weeks, the future, right? So what we need to learn is how to maintain our frequency level without all the fearmonger stuff. So what has been, and I have talked about this over the years, and other people, I don't know if they were listening to me or not, but I think they were listening to the universe, in that more people are talking about that you have to take the observer position. You have to keep your eye on what's going on, but don't stand out in the middle of the street and not expect to get hit, Stay out of the traffic, stay on the sidewalk, and even when you see the light turn red, you need to watch both ways, because there are crazy people that might just run that red light. So even when the light is red, it doesn't mean that you're completely safe. You still keep your eye out on stuff, right? You don't fear it, but you don't just nonchalantly walk out there and all of a sudden, boom. And that's, that ends up being a bad day. So for somebody and those people involved. But anyway, but the fear though, and so the lesson in general is we need to just be aware of stuff all the time, um, and not that we should be scared, but should pay attention to the senses. Absolutely, Richard. So, it's not that we be scared, but it's that we pay attention. And that's, on so many levels, it's not just my advice, it's just good advice, because other folks have been talking about this for a long time too. And the Native American stuff, it's the old elders was like, don't be afraid, just be aware. If you're aware and can smell and your senses and you can hear, you'll know that there's a bear in the area, and you'll know how to stay away from the bear, and you'll know how to not provoke the bear, to have to where you have to run from the bear, and possibly get clawed and eaten by the bear, So, and you have to be aware of the bear, and the bear will make you aware, and aware of the bear, aware of the bear, where is the bear, the bear, the where, you know, a bird is a word, is a word, is a bird, and the bird is a word, anyway, and the bear is aware, and the bear, the bears. So, but anyway, but in life, there are those things that, when I lived in the neighborhood, there were just things that there were certain streets, there were certain houses, there were just certain intersections that you slowed down to because there was a sign or something, and a car might have almost hit you at one time. And so that you knew how to, you might have whizzed around a couple of other streets, but you knew at 16th Street, Nanny, that you slowed down, and that's a real place in Tampa, right? And in the neighborhood. And you slowed down there, and but on the other side, because there wasn't too many through streets and the traffic was different. So you could kind of skip through a couple of, stop signs on your bicycle kind of thing, but you did not do that on 16th Street, So you knew. So but you had to know your neighborhood, right? And so in this world of stuff, be aware of your neighborhood, be aware of the market you go to and go into. It's like, God bless them ladies at the market there, the Dollar General in Coolidge. Um, Last time I was in there, bought up a few things, more dog food, for Duggar and all. Was driving down the highway, stopped at the bridge to look at the high water, went to get out of the truck, reached for my cane, and it wasn't there. Some bitch, lost another cane. I'm going back right away. Turned around, drove right back to Meg's. 10 minutes later, walk in the store. I said, "Yeah, I think I left my cane here." And they go, "Well, yeah, you did, And I'm like, I'm always talkative and, and how y'all doing? And you look nice today and blah, blah, blah. And I'm always having conversation, right? So that it was like, "Here, yeah, is this it?" I said, "Oh, thank you, ma'am." And the other lady said, "Oh, by the way, would this other cane happen to be yours?" And I went, "What?" That they had my other cane. I had left it at that store. And I thought I had went to that store and asked them, has anybody reported a cane missing? Or, there are sometimes I put it in most times I put it in the buggy with me, and so when I get done with the shopping part, I got my cane to walk the cart back and I get back in the truck. So, and I'm thinking, "Oh crap, I left it in the buggy," you know, or if I have used it, then I lean it up against, where you get out your wallet stuffy, right? But anyway, so they had my cane I just left, and 3 weeks earlier, my other cane I'd left in the store also. So God bless them ladies, right? So, but somehow if there would have been fear or something, they would have tossed it in the garbage. Some other place would have been in the way, but they managed to hold on to it, not necessarily for me, but for a person hoping someone would come and say, "Hey, do you have a cane?" And, and dum da da dum. So, the universe is the universe looking out just for me? Were those ladies thinking of Hawkeye when they were hanging on to the cane? Maybe subconsciously because I'm in and out of the store all the time. It's one of my primary stores I buy from, and the ladies are, mostly there. And so, did they pick up on that it was a regular customer of theirs, and that possibly, even though they didn't necessarily know my name, but it was this old guy with the hat and the thing, and um, but that it happened, you know. So there's good in this world in the strangest of ways, and so when I say, and I continue to pray that each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many, many blessings from the universe. Because they come in all shapes and sizes in the universe. Like them ladies hanging onto my cane for me for 3 weeks and then going, "Oh, would this happen to be yours too?" Yay, team. One of my favorite handmade from a piece of wood from out of the woods kind of hand cave. A bear was a giant brown bear. Power in motion. Yep. Oh, and my favorite bear story is I had a dream about a week before I went on a trip to Arkansas. And while in Arkansas, went down the Buffalo River in one of the longest strips in a wilderness area where there aren't any roads in or out. Uh, when you get on this section of the river, after you get, that you got to go to the end and get onto the White River, and then you got to find another place to get out. There ain't no access. Now, there's some country folks who know some back ways in, but you got to be a country folk and know the back way in. You know what I mean? And it's still a long way because it's still in the middle of a wilderness area, especially in this section on the Buffalo. And so I'd had this dream, that was going to have an interaction with a bear. And so my wife at the time, she had hunted bear up in Minnesota, and she knew all about black bear and all this other stuff. She was this bear person and blah, blah, blah. So, okay. So while in Arkansas, there were folks, that they're black bear up there in the Ozarks in different places, right? And, their people's garbage cans look like prison cells with huge gauge bars of steel that are welded together to keep bears out of their garbage cans, and those are just along the side of the road everywhere, whereas we just put our garbage by the side of the road. You don't do that out there. So anyway, I had this dream about meeting this bear somehow. And so we get on the river, we get our stuff. The river's up a little bit, but I'm good with that, and it worked out for us. Headed down the river, we do our thing. We come around this one bend, and there's this on the right hand side. There's this long sandy beach with the mountain that comes down, right to the sand, and there's a 30-foot wide at the time because of where the water was, about a 30-foot wide from the mountain to the water strip of sand. Beautiful, right? Okay, here's where we're camping, and we did. We set up our little tent and everything, and I know better about things about bears, right? Had seen signs of bear prints along the river, up further upriver as we came down. So set up our tent, we're ready for it, right? Put up all our garbage and everything high up in a tree and tie it off just like you're supposed to. About 3 o'clock in the morning, laying down with my head towards the mountain, right? And I'm laying on my back on my air mattress, and I hear this, and I look up because there's moonlight, twilight kind of thing. It's not real light, but I can see. And there's something pushing against the nylon on the tent. I'm looking up like this. Look up, and my wife's going, there's a bear, there's a bear. And I'm like, shut up. What do we do? And I said, we go that way, well, what are we going to do? So we go to the river. What if he breaks through? We go to the river, unzip the tank, we go to the river, because in the river, we got a better chance, I can flip the canoe over on the way to the river because it's between me, what would you do? And the bear is pushing up against the tent. And I'm thinking to myself, quit, for all the experience and the fact she was supposed to be part Blackfoot Indian, she was a total wreck. Talk about fear. So it was like, calm down. I dreamed that the bear was going to meet, but it was going to be okay. But she's in panic mode. So then the bear leaves, right? So as soon as it was dark next morning, she's up and looking out the back of the tent. Sure enough, there's these great big paws all up and down right behind the tent. That bear showing up was pushing its nose in there. And I was like, and after contemplation, a while, meanwhile, back at the ranch, we had eaten some Reese's peanut butter cups before we went to bed. And in hindsight now, that bear could smell that peanut butter and chocolate on my breath from halfway up that mountain. You know what I mean? So, my warning to other people is do not eat peanut butter and chocolate of any kind in any way, shape, or form before you go to bed. S'mores might not be the best choice of a snack before you go to bed, because them bears can smell them marshmallows and chocolate from a mile away. So be careful. But I was like, why did the bear come up and sniff the tent? There was stuff hanging up in the tree. It should have been down there prancing around. Never went down there. But it came and stuck its nose right above my head in that tent. I mean, like this far away from the bear's nose was mine. That's really close. you know, I mean, when I think back on it, it's like it was a wild bear. Yes. 4 o'clock in the morning. Yep. In a wilderness area. Yep. Mountain behind you. Mm-hmm. The only thing around was the river right in front of you, right? Mm-hmm. Were you scared? I'd already peed myself. I was going to have to change. But I realized the best thing to do, especially after I'd had that dream, the best thing I knew to do was to stay calm. I know, but we were, our noses were this far apart. And the only thing that was separating us was that thin layer of nylon from the tent. That all of that is absolutely true. And I was not terrified. And I should have been. But the spirit had, that this was going to be one of the lessons in my shaman journey was that this was going to happen. But I did not know that we were going to kiss. I did, I learned do not do peanut butter, don't do peanut butter before you go to bed, for crying out loud. So how's that work? Have to try, but can't face them. Scared, right? We are apex predator, and you need to project that in the wild, or even squirrels will bully you. That I would agree with you, F Kitty. I would agree with you. And there is this thing about panic, because I've been up in Cades Cove before and came around a corner one evening and ran across two cub bears. And Mama was around and you could hear her snorting. Well, it was about sundown and the bears and folks were settling down, and there were other campers in the area that were going, oh, look, there's bears right over there. And that people were just being curious, but at the same time, it was sort of riling up the cubs that had showed up out of somewhere, crawled down out of a tree or something. The park rangers were going, all right, everybody come back, get back away from the bears and let them go do their thing. Well, I was already down by the Coke machine, but I did not know that so were the bear cubs near the Coke machines. They were walking by and I was just standing there going to get a drink. And the next thing I know that, there's Mama Bear, coming at me from this side of the little pavilion. And other folks are like, oh, look, there's Mama Bear. And I'm like, and they were kind of pushing Mama Bear towards me. Of course, her cubs were pretty good size. The two of them were, on my left-hand side and were not making a lot of noise, but she knew that they were there, and I was like, crap. And I'm between them. And I did not plan on this, I would gladly step out of the way. But I understood that the best thing to do was to just flatten up against the Coke machine and just hold still, and stay out of the way. And Mama Bear, went in front. The two cubs then was on my right hand side because I had turned around, and so they were like, "Roo, roo, roo," and then off they went, and some folks came around the corner and they was like, "Did you see the bear?" And I was like, "Did I see the bear?" It almost stepped on me, you know, but had not intended. This was a different time of being around a bear than the time in the Ozarks, by the way. But anyway, but having mistakenly gotten that close to two bears, run into the cubs, turn around, go, "Ooh, crap, there's mama." And then, "Ooh, there's big bear, two little ones." And thank you. Um, I wouldn't hunt bear unless it was just like last resort. And it would have to be last resort that I would hunt a bear. I would have to be starving. It would have to be a really last resort. And it would be a last resort. I would not just plan on, there are people who plan on going bear hunting every year. I would not, nor could I do that. I just couldn't do it. I personally don't deer hunt, but my neighbor, Miss Sheila, our friend here in the chat, she does. And coming home from the store the other day, and just my backside yard and my neighbor's side yard, and comes out almost over on Lloyd Road, right over here, right over here. And me and Duggar, he's riding in it. It was the same day that we went to the store and I got my cane back. And we're just riding down the road, and it's about sundown, it's twilight. And come over the hill and come down a little bit at the bottom there, and there's 6 deer standing in the road, having a having a convention, But because the water had been up so much, and if you saw that video where the river was, it was flooded, so it had pushed all the deer and a lot of the wildlife, uphill. So the other day it was still pretty dang, it was still pretty dang flooded. And so the deer have changed their routine. And but there were 6 of them standing in the road, just off of the property. So it's like, and good, big, healthy deer too, So it's like they survived the hunting season, So there's 6 deer here in the neighborhood now that's going to be ready for, next season, or. But anyway, so it's good to see they survived. It's good to see they're in the neighborhood. That means this, 50-pound bag of feed that I got out here ain't going to go to waste. I'll feed them during the spring and summer, and keep them deer in the neighborhood, like me and Ricky talk about. Let's feed our deer and keep them in the neighborhood in case we need them. And they go hunting out of the county sometimes, so they don't deplete the deer in our backyard. So, but if we need one of these 6 deer that are roaming up and down in our backyard, we got them. So I'll keep feeding them. But anyway, wowzers. So, but this fear mongering stuff. So, the fear of all the stuff going around, the fear that you can't garden because you might get dirt in your fingers. Oh, that was one of the things I wanted to finish up on. People are too germophobic, and there are too many children who've been raised in germ free environments, I believe, and some other people believe too. You know, most of us kids played out in the dirt, chewed on dirt, put our hands in our mouth, and we made it, you know. Some people go, "I don't see where you're old and it's," but there are kids nowadays who, they just get a little bit of something on them and they just can't make it. And so the children these days, and going back up into like my granddaughters, you know, uh, that in a way they started being fragile. And now the children in the younger generation, younger than them, they're even more fragile, you know, because at least my granddaughter was outside more and stuff. So she got in her hands in the dirt. But other folks, even in her generation, they're still kind of fragile. Even the younger generation from her is they're even more fragile, more afraid to get their hands in the dirt, and more afraid to bend over and do certain work. Where us we was talking about the other day was like, um, that folks these days, let alone plant a garden, but if there's a garden and say, you plant a couple rows of peas, well, that's great. Well, but when the peas come in, you got to get out there, you got to pull them peas. And then when you pull them peas, then you got to shuck and do them peas, right? Otherwise, just planting them ain't doing no good unless you're just going to feed the deer, which is okay too. But you got to be able to go out there and shell them peas. You got to go out and pick the peas. You got to go out and you know. So, but the first thing is that some of these folks wouldn't even know how to plant a row of peas, let alone do the rest of it, right? So, and let alone get their hands dirty, let alone know that they needed, for them to come out right, they needed some nitrogen in the soil for them beans to come up right. So, but folks these days don't know none of that. Even in the farm community, some of them folks don't know that. So how they going to survive if something like that happens in this younger generation that don't know shit? And then there are those of us who are older that we know about this stuff. We knew it kind of growing up. You just learned it every year that you did. You go, oh yeah, you mean you put so much, nitrogen to the soil and da da da, and so many per plant. So, yeah. And the beans come up, and everybody goes out and picks peas. And then when the peas come in, then everybody gets together and shells the peas. Be sitting in front and watching a movie and have a big old bowl just full of peas zipper peas and crowder peas and different kind of peas, and you'd be shelling them peas until 11 o'clock at night until it was, the news came on, and you watched the weather and you shuck and jibed, and you saved the good peas that you put in one bowl, and they took them in, and then you took all the hulls and everything, and they went in the bag, and they went outside with you when you went. And so, good night, Alex. So, but and thank you and blessings. So, but the days of folks sitting around in the evening and picking peas, or shelling peas and doing that sort of thing, just I ain't heard of that in a while. So do folks know how to do that? Could folks learn how to do that? But these young people don't know nothing about it. Not how to plant them, graze them, grow them, pick them, shell them, or anything. But they'll go to a restaurant, eat them. You know what I mean? So, and there are folks like, when I was talking about earlier about people complaining because, that chicken wings are too expensive. When, 6 chicken wings means 3 chickens died so you could have wings. But they don't look at it that way. So I got a basket of 12 chicken wings. That's 6 chickens who gave up their wings. You know, what? Yeah, but folks don't look at it like that. And what it took, especially when you live around here, you know what it takes to grow a chicken, and you see what it takes to process a chicken. And you see, because it's big business down here. So, but folks who don't know none of that, who just go out to the place and eat them, It's like Chick-fil-A, chick, 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 chick. Look at all these chick, you know. Roar, buck, 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 buck. How many of these chickens that we kill around here, that are killed around here, go to Chick-fil-A? You know, because there are millions of birds that are killed every year just in this one area. Wow. So, but if you don't live in an area like we do, you go, well, you know, what about the cow farts? What about the fucking 11 million chickens just in this area every year? But what about cow farts? Okay, never mind. But chicken's better for you. You want to watch them being raised? You'd want to eat that cow first. I don't eat much chicken, you know, because I know how they're raised. You know, I'd much rather eat a cow, you know. Um, but anyway, so but fear of things, you know, fear of GMO, fear of this thingo, and fear of that thingo, and well, okay, you know, we could be, you know, but the GMO, well, so no offense, and I'm not saying that we should know, we should be able to choose whether or not we want, you know, certain products that are grown or made in certain ways or whatever. Um, Being in the farm belt and commodities and things, you drive down the road and we don't see much corn down here as much as you used to, but you drive down the road and there will be signs on the fence as to what kind of corn they're growing, right? DeKalb 59 or something like that, or Fuji Muji, you know, Gooey 19 or something on the other side of the road. And you know, so you never know. But if somebody's just growing some just grade A, just, you know, regular, not necessarily sweet corn, but a field corn, and that, you know, there'll be a couple of acres of it or 10 acres of that, and it's exactly what it's for. It's for feeding cattle, and, you know, and to have enough seed for next year to plant the same acreage. But basically it's for, you know, feeding cattle and hogs locally. It's not for sale on some other basis. It's not going to Kellogg's, you know, to make cornflakes. You know, it's staying locally. um and let Scotty boy, unless you've had some of this um, South Georgia made it home in the kitchen cream corn. Oh man, you know, out of a can cream corn, yeah. But to have cream corn from some of these old ladies that make it fresh off the cob, mm, mm, mm. You go, oh my God, this is cream corn. Lord have mercy. Your gums would fall off. They did taste so good. But yeah, makes me want some right now. But anyway, but I'm the same with you, Scotty boy, and until you taste some of this homemade cream corn. Oh yeah, well you go to one of these you know, country hoedown thingies where some country folk have laid out a dinner like it was what I had 2 weeks ago. There was some home style cream corn because the Mennonites make all their own stuff, right? And they dished some out of my plate. I was like, oh goodness, homemade cream corn. Because I was like, you know, and man, it was good. Yeah, buddy, it is nowhere near what it tastes like. You know, it don't. It just homemade is homemade. You know, it don't taste like no canned stuff. You can't even come close to it. But anyway, a lot of the corn is grown around here is grown for cows and pigs, and there are some sweet corn, usually just for a family or, you know, well, it's family and relatives, but yeah, that would be family, wouldn't it? Just, you know, maybe an acre or so. Um, but very little sweet corn grown around here. Now, not to say that there ain't, because Um, last year, I remember going to the doctor or therapy or something, and seeing somebody on the side of the road with fresh corn off the back of a pickup truck, and I was like, but they was gone on the way back. And since I wasn't driving at the time, I just couldn't. So but anyway, so this year, and if I see anybody on the side of the road with some fresh, shucking corn like that, I'm gonna get me some. Um, but anyway, so and the other thing, for us down here, and I would say in the farm community in general. If you see a truck on the side of the road that's got any kind of vegetable, it's probably locally grown. Now, I talked to this one man that had a little stand, and I asked him, I said, "So, did you grow all these tomatoes?" And he said, "No, sir, I ran out of my tomatoes last week." And he said, "These tomatoes," he said, "I bought them, I get a deal from the farmer's market so I can keep my stand open." He said, "But those are my squash, and these are my tomatoes and cantaloupe." So, in order to supplement, he wasn't stupid, older black man. And I say older, he probably my age. But he was like, "I wants to have tomatoes for my customers." He said, "But I ain't got none." So, he was selling the tomatoes about his cost in order to sell his squash and onions and watermelon and cantaloupe, which was interesting. But at least he was honest with me, and I was like, I'll buy some anyway because it looked good, But um, so to me, in all things, honesty is the best policy. Sometimes you have to shirk the truth a little bit, meaning that you might avoid telling the whole truth to someone to keep from hurting their feelings or something, you know, and then maybe later on, if necessary, you fill in the blanks. But, that's not really lying. That's just only telling a certain amount of truth. you know, it's withholding truth, which could be determined as a lie. But anyway, but in this community of stuff, the chaos is going to continue, you know? So if you know it's going to continue, then are you going to get nervous about it? Or are you going to go, uh-huh, okay, let me clean my gun, you know, let me make sure I got enough canned goods at the house. Let me make sure I got enough of this, let me, don't get into a big sweat. But it's almost May, okay? And what they said was going to happen with the food shortages, at least around here, has not happened. So I wouldn't say be in a panic, but if you've already got a decent supply, wouldn't hurt to get a few extra cans. Pick up some noodles, and everybody says, get rice and beans and rice and beans. Oh, trust me, in a few days, you're going to be sick and tired of rice and beans. Get some, Corley Q, some macaroni and stuff, from crying out loud. Get some pasta, and make sure you got some, canned tomatoes, so you can make a this and, come on, rice and beans and rice and beans and rice and beans. There are other things. But anyway, so canned tomatoes, they work really well. And they'll keep for a while too. And you'd be surprised at how good they taste, especially if you get the right brand. But anyway, and you can get the whole tomatoes, you can get the cherry, you can get anyway. So too many people poo-poo like, well, I got to have fresh tomatoes. Well, when I couldn't get fresh tomatoes, I uh, found that the local brand of tomatoes in a can and I can't tell you which ones at the moment because I just can't remember, but I can see them. They're like quartered, and you drain them a little bit, and I was putting them on tacos, and I was surprised at how good. Somebody said, "Well, just use the tomatoes in the can," and I said, "Well, don't you have to have fresh tomatoes, to have tacos and well, no, try." And I did. I tried the canned tomatoes, and all it was basically just draining them, and they worked really good on top of my tacos and everything. And I was like, "Mm, thumbs up for the canned tomatoes. So, and even to use them in a salad or whatever, just drain them out and sprinkle them around. You go, they're already cut up, and you don't have to worry about them if it's fresh or not. And so, but anyway, don't poo-poo canned tomatoes in a lot of different ways. But so many people are afraid of all these things. And it's like the ranchers firing the gun to chase the cattle in one direction or another. They're firing off guns to push humanity to be scared in different areas. That's what the commotion is about. We got to be scared about this. How long has it been now that we're all supposed to be extremely terrified of Putin? And Putin's going to start World War any second now, you know. And how many years has it been? And Putin still ain't done it, But what about the fighting in Ukraine? Well, yeah, but that's fighting in Ukraine, and that's fighting on his own border. Okay, remember that. He didn't skip through 2 or 3 countries to go fight. They're fighting on the Russian border. Okay, remember that. So, but the takeover, he's going to take over the world. Has he? Does it look like he's going to? Are people still afraid? Poland's like, oh, he's gonna invade us any minute now. Well, that was 2 or 3 years ago. Has Russia made any moves to invade Poland yet? No, but they're still terrified that Russia's going to do it because of all the fear mongering of everybody else. Well, you're on the border of Russia. Aren't you afraid that Russia's going to invade you? And then they all go home and go, well, I don't know. Are we? Are we worried about Vlad coming over here and invading Poland? What have we got that Vlad wants? Oh my God, he might actually invade us. Holy shit. The next thing you know, the Poles are worried about, the Russians invading them. Oh man, I was like, seriously? The Poles are afraid that Vlad's going to move in on them? It just doesn't make sense. He's better off to just stay friends with them rather than start any kind of commotion with them. He would be beyond insane to start any kind of commotion, with any country. And if the Ukrainians kind of sort of hadn't started things and this and that, and they blew up the pipeline and all that stuff, Vlad don't want to start nothing. You know how big the country of Russia is? How vast it is? And there are few people in Russia than there are in America. And Russia's bigger and got more stuff and resources. They don't want Poland. People just was like fear, 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 fear. So, oh, and now these people are going to attack us. And oh, now these people are going to get us. Oh, now and the flu season's coming. Now you got to register your chickens because y'all might get the chicken flu. Y'all might get the chicken pox. Y'all might get the chicken feet. Y'all might get chicken wings. I just want eggs, And all the years that I've raised chickens and all the walking around in the chicken poop and the handling eggs that have chicken poo on them, and just going in and washing them off. And, but this idea that I should have considering, that I handled these things with my hands, that I should have some kind of horrible disease. I should have picked up some kind of something over the years, and I didn't. and I haven't. And it's like, but all the things say because of all I handled chicken poop, you know. I washed chicken poop off of the fresh eggs. Yeah, because I didn't want it to cake on, and you would, you want to wash it off. But that wait a minute now. But that's unsanitary. I know, it's not like I want to roll around in the chicken poo, but yeah, okay. But so I've handled, germs. But I think in handling the germs over the years, your body builds up its own antibodies, and things like that. The old timers didn't die of some of those things. They died of rare things, you know. And, to this day at 71, almost 72, coming up soon, um, that, I haven't had anything like that. And I live with dirt all around me, and I'm all the time getting my hands into something, um, and if that were the case, yes, I've washed my hands and stuff, but there'd been times when camping over the weekend, your hands kind of stay dirty all weekend, and you've handled fish and you've rinsed them in the creek water, and they're not really clean, but they're rinsed off, and you still got some germs on you, you know. You haven't used an antiseptic, and therefore somehow, because you handled germs, that somehow that should have killed me, or so. But we as kids were playing in the swamps and going down on the Hillsborough River, and playing in the dirt. And then I moved up here, and living in the swamp in the backyard, having all these other things and handling it. And some city slicker friends who are germophobic, that could not handle how I live. Not that it's I live so, there's not fungus everywhere and stacked dishes. No, 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 it ain't that. But it's not the sparkling white, clean, crisp kitchen that you see in suburbia. Okay. So I'm about this far up from camping, but but my plates and everything are clean, and I rinse them out every time anyway, in case a bug had walked through them. But I live in a swamp, you know, and I've killed off, I think, most of my mouse problem. Um, my friend of mine up in near Athens, Georgia, was staying up here with him years ago with my last wife, and he would he was have we were having morning breakfast, and he made us. He was so gracious. He made us some of his um, special oatmeal with a little bit of leftover rice in it from the night before and something else. And it was breakfast. It was whole grain uh, um, oatmeal versus like out of the box oatmeal. And so I'm sitting there, and I know Dale, you know, and I'm used to Dale, and so he gets done with his what he had, and he had a little bit left in his bowl, and he set it down on the floor, and the dogs come up and licked it and everything, and he's talking to Cheryl, and she's eating her breakfast and everything, and when he gets done, dogs get done. He said, "Y'all done here? Lick this clean." And then he gets the spoon in the bowl, and he puts the bowl up on the shelf. And Cheryl stops eating, and I keep eating, right? And she goes, "Is that how you clean your dishes?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, the dogs lick my plates clean." And he said, "It saves me water and all the dishes and everything." And he goes, and it's been proven that, a dog's saliva is, more sanitary than this, that, and the other thing. She about throws up, right? And she just like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it. It's coming up on 2:20 Central. I thought I'd be done by now, but and so she's sitting there, and she made me, and it was like Dale was like, why are you letting her make you do that?" And I was like, "I choose to do so because if I don't help her, I won't hear the the end of it for 5 hours going home. I gotta help her." "But you don't have to." I said, "I know, but I'm gonna help her. Why? Because if I don't help, it ain't gonna be nothing but bitch, and it won't be just for the ride home. It's gonna be for days and weeks and months after that." So I said, "I'm gonna help do this, even though I think it's stupid. And even though it's your house, and even though it's your groceries, and or I mean, it's your, silverware and bowls and pots and pans and everything anyway." So we had to heat water. We had to tote water because he didn't have any, the way he lives. And so we had to do all these things. And then she took every dish that she could find, even some on the ground because she wasn't sure, and hot water, washing soap and everything, and then had me cleaning and drying and doing the other thing on the other end. And Dale was like, he was just sitting there laughing. I said, "Go ahead." I said, and I said, "This ain't going to last long." And it didn't. We were divorced not too long after that, and it didn't last long. But the fact that she about puked and fell out of her chair with the way he washed his dishes was to let the dogs lick the plates clean and the bowls. So, but there are some people's reality because she was scared of germs, and it's like, anyway. And the thing about the germs was she was worried about the dogs licking her bowl clean, and that he had his his kitchenware was licked clean by the dogs, when she was going outside all the time in her bare feet into the chicken pen. Okay, bare feet, and handling the chickens with her hands with no gloves or nothing, picking up the chickens and petting them and all that. So she was picking up all them chicken germs and rubbing her face and doing this and blah, 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 blah. And she was worried about whether or not a dog licked the plate or not. And I brought that to her attention on the way home. And I like to got killed. So, but anyway, we're coming up on another 20, and I am going to leave it with you. Don't cuddle. That wasn't it. It's that she, handled these birds that in all the poo and outside in the pen, and chicken pens aren't necessarily really clean, you know. And so, but she didn't have any problem walking out there barefoot and going out in the garden and doing all these things, and but oh my God, a dog licked a bowl, when she let a dog lick her face all the time. So it just did not make sense. But we had to take down all of his dishes and wash them and do all that. And she just bitched the whole time. And Daryl was, 2 minutes. Yep. Thank you, Scotty boy. 3:20. Yes, Saturday is 4:20. And I almost ate bird poop. Yep. I mean, when you go camping, it's like there are some folks that they have to take everything, and God forbid, I throw out a piece of tarp and lay shit on it, and oh, you're making a peanut butter and sandwich or something, and you throw the bread on the tarp. I mean, you wipe the dirt off for crying out loud, or I take paper towels, and I put a paper towel down on top of the tarp and throw the bread on it and the whatever, so just out, and there's sand all around, there's mud and stuff and birds, and you're in the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. A weem away, a weem away, a weem away, a weem away. Sing along. But anyway, it's 20 after now. But I haven't seen or heard from my friend Dale Betcher in 20 years. So I wish him well if he's still up there in the North Georgia mountains. And he was born 2 days actually 1 day before me, in 1952. I mean, we were literally 2 days apart from each other in our birthdays. He was born on the 22nd. I was born on the 24th. So we would both be the same age. We've been the same age every year. If he's still alive and still kicking. But he was he was an herbalist friend of mine who literally went to school at the University of Georgia at Athens for herbology and graduated and all that kind of stuff. And if he's still alive, he probably still does make salve, but he made a salve over the several years that I've known him, but haven't seen him in 20 years. But every year I'd go up, I'd buy as much salve as I could afford, or as much as he had at the moment. And really green and just have a little bit of a smell to it. Not bad, just a greenish kind of smell to it. And I gave some to my doctor as a gift, several jars of this stuff. And she used it on her hands, and she used it on her horses, and she raises like racing horses. She said, I couldn't use it on my patients when I really wanted to. She said, but I used it on my horses, and oh my God, that stuff is great. You could make millions just selling this to the horse community, just for that, And she goes, where did, and I said, he makes it out of stuff out of his yard, with a little bit of lard and a little bit of, beeswax and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But stuff he's got because he lives up there in the, the Appalachian Southern kind of stuff up there on the edge of Alabama, Georgia up there. And he collects all kinds of stuff and he makes this in his backyard. And really, yeah, and it's great. And by the way, you could eat this stuff and it wouldn't hurt you. So, I had a couple of cuts that were real deep, put a little bit of salve on it and rub it in. 2 days later, it's all, healed over. No scab, no nothing, no real pain or nothing. I've given some to other people. His salve was like the best. And so, there are so many things that literally just grow around us. And if we just knew what those things were, and if trust and belief is where I was headed with this, if you trust in those folks who really know, these old timers, and if you believe that they will work, and then the next thing is you have to act and learn how to do it yourself and learn how to be able to make what was a homemade salve that really, honest to God, worked every time. It wasn't some kind of bullshit. It was, grandma didn't make this up. I mean, in that it worked. It worked every time because it did. But somebody said, well, Granny made this stuff and did it work? Well, yeah, Granny said it did, and that was that. But nobody asked Granny, how did you make your salve, Granny? Well, I put a little this in it. Oh, yeah, a little bit of lard. Yeah. And that's that. Yeah. And so then somebody else comes along and go, well, but we got to, we can't have that no more. We got to go down to the store and buy it. Yeah, but Granny made this salve. Yeah, but nobody knows how Granny made it no more. So we can't believe in Granny's salve because none of us paid attention to her. Now we have to buy stuff from the store. Because believe me, if we can't buy it from somebody in the woods over there, because they They claim it's Granny's recipe, but I don't trust them. I don't believe them. Therefore, I'm in the fork in the road in my belief system. If I believe that they can still make Granny's recipe, and if I believe that Granny's recipe will still heal me, and if I believe that it will save me money and help my relatives out over there in the other county that makes this stuff and picks all these herbies and things, then I won't believe that I need to go to the store. But now, if I believe that the only way that the salvation is to go to the CVS, pharmaceutical department in order to save myself from crotch rot, or I can use some of Granny's special jelly to get rid of that nasty old crotch rot. But no, I must go to the CVS store because I have changed my belief system. I don't believe that I can use Granny's remedies anymore because they say it's dangerous. They say I could get some kind of fungus among us. They say because it's all natural, I might pick up a germ. And we can't have that. So our belief system, that's a money, money, money. When I worked in San Diego, we went to Mexico a few times. Yeah, I just said crotch rot. Well, there's all kinds of ailments that folks have in the country, and for some reason that's what come out of my mouth. Anyway, sitting on a tractor too long, and you see in the sun, and never mind, you get crotch rot. So it's like, what do we believe? What is our belief system? What are we really, excuse me, what are we willing to relearn? What are we willing to for our futures to keep us out of the chaos of being scared? This being springtime, and that it's the best time to go out and be looking for some of these herbs and things, right? Looking for the flowers, looking for the new buds and so forth. And so you want to learn about, different things so that you aren't scared, okay? So that you stay out of their parameters of fear and out of their chaos. So you are proactive and you learn what's around you. You learn your neighborhood. You learn just, who's in your neighborhood, plant wise and animal wise and people wise and stuff wise. Where's, do you have access to any kind of fresh water in any way? Is there any stream or spring or anything, right? In or around your area? If it ain't on your property or whatever, where's the nearest? How could you get to it? What if you needed water in any way, like to put some on your gardens or plants? Could you get a bucket and tote it from someplace? Where is that someplace? So it's like, so what do you do? So you go out and look at your surroundings and become aware. And while you're doing it, look for those plants. And you would be surprised. There are some of these plants at certain times of the year will literally grow in the cracks in the sidewalk. They're, and other things. I mean, you ain't got to go somewhere way out somewhere. All you need is an open field. It could be a junkyard, and some of these plants grow in these areas, but dandelions and things, right? And I was thinking of there's a chicory and a oh man, about yay tall with little flower on them, and but it's not a dandelion, but um, but anyway, Colt's Foot and a couple of others, um, folks that go by a swampy area or something, there may be some cattails growing nearby. Well, there's a little swampy area and there's some stuff in it. Yeah, but you know what a cattail is? You know what they look like? Did you know that you know when they go to fluffing out, that's what the fluffy part of a cattail is what the settlers used to line their clothes with. They made quilts with that and they put that in between as insulation. It sort of like goose down and duck down, right? Um, folks learn, what pokeweed is and what the berries do, and that you could use the berries for that purple dye, and that that the poke salad. It learn what that is, and and different other plants that are just hanging around. Like I always talk about mullein, and in different areas, it's just sitting on the side of the road, and folks don't know what it is, nor do they know what it is used for, could be used for, and and that type of thing. So, and that you could take it home and dry it. You can take it home and make an oil or a tincture out of it, and you don't have to grow it in your own yard, but so how do you become proactive? Look for some mullein, because it's an all around good plant. Uh, you want to find mushrooms? They're all over the place. After a good rain somewhere, wait a day or so, and mushrooms should start blooming. If there's any spores anywhere around, you know, the white inside the shell, we called it Indian gum. But anyway, but people are worried about their health. Well, there are so many things that you can find in a local area uh, that can, keep you healthy without having to, I'm all on all this heart medicine, which I need to take here in a couple of minutes. Um, yeah, because I'm 12 minutes past the 20, and I just dumped out the bowl. So it is time for me to go. Take my meds and to go to bed also. Also, I didn't charge up the phone all the way, but but I'll have the spirit's been pushing me to do something about the wild plants and so forth. And I know I've talked about it before, and I have brought up certain plants over the years, but they're kind of yelling at me because I got several books on medicinal plants and foraging and stuff like that. And so it might be, I can't share the screen, but I might be able to just hold up the book and go, you see this, and this is this, and read what, and I'll read what it says, and read whatever the chronic illness may be, and then read whatever um, plant or combination of plants that it may be for to take for that symptom or ailment. So, but anyway, it's good to see you, Dominic and Richard, always, and Bernicia. Good to see you. You're down with what? I know y'all talking about different things in the chat. Got a digicopy of Bald's Leech books and a few paperbacks. So cool. Yeah, there are a lot of books out there. I have a book on mushrooms from the National Society of whatever that, you know, and it's got every dadgum mushroom and all kinds of different things. Um, and there is also another a Peter's Guide to Medicinal Plants. I, I, they got pictures, they've got all kinds of stuff. Buy a copy. Well, I got the internet, buy a copy, buy a hard copy of it because you can walk with it in your pocket and open it up and you can look at the plant, you can look at the picture, you can compare. Well, I got my cell phone. You might not have your cell phone when you need to look at plants. So buy a copy of Peterson's guide. They've got the bird books, mushroom books, edible plants, medicinal plants. I got 3 books over there on the shelf, one of each kind of thing. And so buy them. They're well worth it. They last for years and years and years and years, regardless of whether or not the electricity works. Oh, 420, 420. I'm going to try to be awake on Saturday morning at 4:20 a.m. And with any luck, I'll be awake at 4:20 p.m. But I thought, how many people are going to be awake at 4 a.m. on Saturday morning, which is like it's 3:21. Well, no, that's how many hours? It's 3:35 now, right? So it'd only be 45 minutes later and I'd be at 4:20 on this day. So you'll be here? Yeah. Yeah, for self-medication time. So, you know, kind of sort of plan on Saturday morning at 4:20 that I'll start at 12:15 or something like I normally do, or maybe 1:15, depending. And I'll do a subject and we'll all get together at 4:20. How about that one? Okay. All right. So, my friends, I really do. I need to get up and move around. I got to pee, and I'm running out of something to drink, and I want a cigarette, and I've been here for almost 4 hours. So, I love you all, and I do continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And remember, stop being afraid and just stay out of the chaos. And I keep praying that you'll learn how to reject that chaos and just take a deep breath. And, if you want to spend money on something, buy a book on medicinal plants, buy a book on birds, you know, and the Peterson's Guide to songbirds and whatever. I mean, oh my God, I think I got one of them too. But for whatever they cost, they're worth it because they will last until you tear them up or burn them or something. They will last forever. I've had mine for 30 years now. And they've been worn, but you can still read them and they're still good. And so, you want to invest in something, invest in them. Bernicia, yeah, um, yeah, Peterson's Guide. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But like I said, and the Audubon Society puts out books like that. And they're look for the field guides of wild something, and they'll show you who it is, right? And I don't know what they are now. They were like $25 for a book back then, or so forth. Hell, they might be $50 now. I don't know, but they're usually in the field guide, which means you can put them in your pack or something. And but like I said, for whatever the book costs now, it's going to be cheaper to buy it now than it will be anytime in the future. That's because that's what happened to me. Oh, but it costs so much, but it's $25 now. Yeah, but that was 30 years ago. I don't know what they cost now, but I don't that I don't I bet you it's not lower than. So but anyway, and they're always good, you know. I want to find out a bird, I can go over there and get my bird book and flip through it. They got it listed in different sections and they can, ooh, there's woodpeckers, look up woodpeckers and go, oh, that's a ladderback. Oh, that's a such and such. So they're absolutely great to have. So anyway, I love you all. Thank you for hanging out with me. I know you are kind to each other and you keep up the good work. Remember, we're all in this together. And remember, we're surrounded by the cosmic goo. And everything we do and say, we affect that cosmic goo. So when we smile, that smile projects into the cosmic goo. When we sing a song of sixpence and a pocket full of rye, 4 and 20 blackbirds baked in a pie, and the words begin to sing. Isn't that a wonderful to set before the king? Dun, da, da, dun. All right, so have a good morning, Richard. Thank you, Dominic, Bernicia, always. Everybody have a good morning. Scotty, if you're still there, and I forget, Katniss, if you're still around. I love you all, and we'll see you next time. Be sweet, be safe, and keep it between the ditches.